Welcome back, everybody, to the Bourbon and BS podcast. Do not try and adjust your audio
or the screen.
Yes, for those of you watching live. I am Nate Hale, and next to me is Dustin Bovey.
Yep.
If you noticed, Steve is not sitting at the table with us tonight.
The voice is not low enough.
Yeah, I can't fake it.
Neither can I.
But Steve's got a little bit of a cough, and he wants to do the smart thing and just stay out of the garage and
sit this one out for a minute.
Sit it out, but we still want to provide something to our listeners. So that's why Dustin and I are still doing this. Plus, we also had a special guest from out of town lined up for this. So, we wanted to be respectful to their time and their schedule. So we're going to keep it going. So tonight, it's episode 144.
You want to go through that? I'll go through and do some sharing.
Yeah, Dustin's going to do some sharing while I go over the sponsors. So let's bring it up. So tonight, our feature cigar is going to be the Black Market Esteli Diamond from Alec Bradley, and that's coming through Tinder Box at Easton. And if we'll talk a little bit about it, we've done the Black Market Esteli before. This one's a little bit different because you'll see it's a diamond press, so we'll talk about that a little bit. Second cigar of the night is from our second sponsor, Altadis USA. That's going to be the Monte Cristo Espada Oscuro, which is a great little cigar. And then got the BS Cigar Company. I know I've got a few. Dustin's got a couple over there. And then also Patreon. Don't forget Bourbon and BS podcast on Patreon. So you got the tiers, 5, 10, 25. Steve's shipping out a shipment to your buddy that's out in California.
Yeah, Sean.
Yep. He's one of our new patrons, and he's a $25 tier. And so not only did he get a shirt, but he also called into the shop the other day to put together an order. So
super, super nice guy. I tried to get him on at one point, but unfortunately he cannot because he works for Apple.
Yeah.
So,
but he's shopping
conflict of interest.
But he's shopping locally from California.
Yeah, he's originally from him and his wife are originally from the Buckeye Lake area.
Nice. So we thank all of you for your continued support and all of our patrons, new patrons, patrons that have been around since day one. We appreciate that. Tonight, we are going to be drinking something not available yet in Ohio. It's called Still Austin. And I'm going to bring up Brandon. Hello, Brandon.
What's up, guys?
Not much. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
And this is Brandon Joldersma. Did I get it right?
Nailed it.
All right. And you are the GM for Still Austin. That is correct?
Correct. Yep.
Awesome.
Right here in Austin, Texas.
Beautiful.
Good. I was hoping it wasn't in Dallas.
I mean, it's still Austin. So
okay. San Antonio, then whatever. I'm glad it's it. I'm glad they named it after where they're at. That'd be weird.
I mean, they are from Austin and they named it after there. So
yeah. He's not. Brandon, where are you from?
I'm from Holland, Michigan.
Holland, Michigan. Great little town.
So I can do the.
Yeah.
Let's see. Am I doing this right? So
you're
over here,
over towards the edge of your palm.
Right there.
Yeah. Great
Holland,
little
Michigan.
town.
Great little town.
Yeah.
Home of the second best small town festival in the United States, according to Reader's Digest.
Behind who?
I think that some cherry festival somewhere. I don't know.
Oh. Okay.
Probably in Michigan?
Probably. Traverse City Cherry Festival, maybe. I don't know.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
We had Traverse City on a month or two ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a huge thing for them up there that got canceled this year. Yay.
Yeah, that was a really big deal.
Yeah. So
it's unfortunate.
Yeah. So what took you from Michigan to Texas?
So I've been running a distillery in Michigan for 2.5 years or so, and really had no intentions of leaving until just through industry connections, I got put in touch with the CEO of Still Austin just to have a conversation. The company of Still Austin was founded by a bunch of non-industry people It's like an economist and somebody who had worked in non-alcoholic beverage previously, and a lawyer and a construction guy. And they were looking to find somebody who had experience running distilleries before. And we just got to talking. I wasn't terribly interested, to be honest. At the time, they were making mostly white whiskey that they had released, which I thought was a bad idea. But they offered to fly me down just to check the place out. And I had a buddy here that I hadn't seen in like 6 years, and I'd never been to Austin before. So I thought, I'll take the free trip down, to check it out. So this was in April of last year, I guess. When I came down, I ended up tasting the whiskey that they had aging. I saw the facility and kind of what they were capable of putting out in terms of number of barrels. And I kind of fell in love with the city. And my wife also was really excited to move here and not stay in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So that kind of sealed the deal.
Was it the weather that did it?
The weather is a big part of it. My wife's also from Chicago. And when I got offered a job in Grand Rapids, I was living in Chicago at the time, and she's like, "How is Grand Rapids? Like, is it cool?" I'm like, "Definitely, you'll love it." We went and moved there, and like 2 weeks later, she was like, "I don't know, dude."
Yeah,
and so we stuck it out for about 2.5 years, and then finally it was time to go.
Yeah, that's a huge change to go from a city like Chicago to Grand Rapids.
It is.
Yeah, I've been to both. I've worked in both. They're not similar.
So let me ask you this, Brandon. What were you doing before you joined Still Austin?
Working in distilleries.
Oh, yes. There's a distillery. There's a distillery actually in Holland called Coppercraft that had been around for a little while. They got purchased by an investment group I had worked for previously, and they hired me in out of Chicago to run that. So I did that for 2.5 years, and we ended up actually acquiring a few other distilleries as well. One in DC and a liqueur brand. And before that was actually my first job in spirits. Before that, I ran a hard cidery called Virtue Cider. I ran sales for that, which when I was there, they got bought by Anheuser-Busch. So absorbed into the high end, did that thing for a while. And then before that, I was mostly in restaurants.
Okay, very, very cool. I feel like I've heard of Coppercraft. I don't know, it's ringing a bell for me, but I can't recall where I've seen it before. But I know there's Cooper's Craft.
Yeah, Cooper's Craft. It's different.
Yeah, that's Brown Foreman.
When you said you worked for a distillery in Holland, that was not the one I thought you were going to mention. Just because I know of one, and so when you said something else, I kind of okay. I didn't. Holland's not a very big town, so
no, it's not.
So
you were thinking of New Holland.
Yes, right? I didn't. Yeah, I wasn't gonna say anyone, but yeah, which we've had their stuff on before when we had Nook on. They've made some good stuff. So what was it that made you leave who you were with in Michigan and go work for Still Austin? Like pack up your family and everything. And
yeah. So when can we start drinking this? Can I open my bottle, please?
Yeah. You can drink whenever you want.
Okay. I'm going to have a little bit.
Okay.
And we can talk about it in just a second. So when I originally talked to the CEO, he was like, "Well, we have whiskey that's 1 year old, a little more than 1 year old right now, and it's fantastic, and we're thinking about bottling that." And I told him like, "Hey, probably not a great idea to release a 1 year old whiskey, right? Plenty of craft distillers will do that, release whiskey when it's too young, largely for cash flow reasons. You spent all this money laying down the barrels and buying all of your equipment and all that, and it's hard not to want revenue." But then they usually end up shooting themselves in the foot by releasing products when it's too young. So when I came down here for the first time and I tried that whiskey right out of the barrel, it blew me away. It is still the best 1 year old bourbon I've ever had. We ended up releasing it in incremental batches last year and then one this year, just 1 year old bourbon in kind of small releases that would sell out right away. And now those are gone, and that's not a SKU we make anymore. But what we were gearing up towards in the last year was releasing a new flagship, our straight bourbon whiskey, which is the bottle that you have in front of you there. So this is 2+ years old. just launched about 3 months ago or so.
Very
But
nice.
just to kind of go back to the aging portion of it, there's a few things going on that I think makes this whiskey really, really good. One is it's 100% Texas grains that we're sourcing, so it only comes from Texas farmers. And the biggest difference there is this is largely white corn in here, whereas most bourbons will use yellow corn. A lot of bourbons in Kentucky use yellow corn. White corn kernels are a little bit bigger, a little bit higher sugar content, which means we get a higher ABV out of it when we do the cook and the mash. And the flavor profile there is a little bit different. It's the same type of corn that's used in a lot of culinary applications here too, for tortillas and tortilla chips and things like that.
Yeah.
So that flavor profile is a little bit different, and we think you can kind of taste Texas in there. Also, go ahead.
I apologize. There was another Texas distillery that used blue corn, I believe it was, as well. It's the only one that I've seen do it before. I don't know if you know of any others that have done that, or
we've made. You're probably thinking about Balcones, I would imagine, right?
Okay.
That baby blue.
Yeah.
As you said blue corn, I knew what you were talking about.
Yeah, no, we've actually laid down a bunch of barrels of blue corn bourbon. We experimented with it for a while and found at least the blue corn we were sourcing to be so high in sugar and so sweet coming off of there that we went ultra high rye with it. So it's a bourbon that's 51% corn, 44% rye.
Wow.
5% malted barley.
Is
we're what's that?
Is the blue corn just that sweet compared to?
Yeah.
Wow.
It tasted like even tasting it at 120 proof, just coming off the still, it was like a sugar bomb. Like it was like cotton candy. It was too much. We had to bump up that rye content just to balance out that sweetness.
Wow.
So we mill and mash everything on site. So we have a mill on site. We have grain silos. Like we mill fresh every day to our cook. And that's a huge quality differentiator for us as well. Everything gets barreled on site, and then it goes to, we have a couple warehouses literally in a field in the middle of nowhere between here and San Antonio, where barrels just go sit. We don't touch them. We let them age for a couple years. And then we do something that's pretty unique. I don't know if you guys have heard of this or not. We call it slow water reduction. We actually reduce the proof in barrel over time.
Okay. You still there? Or we lose you, Brandon. Your screen froze for us.
I think we lost Brandon.
Yep. Brandon,
can you hear me?
Oh, now
there you are.
We got you back.
Can you hear me now?
I can. Where did I cut out?
So you were starting to talk about watering down the barrels.
Yeah, so it's a little insane, and nobody does this because it just takes so much time and labor. But we proof down every single barrel that goes into this by hand once a month for 6 months till it's nearly bottle proof before we pull it out of the barrel. So what almost every distillery does 20 proof. It sits there until it's ready. You dump all your barrels, and then you just add.
Brandon, keep kind of cutting in. Your screen froze again. Oh, there you go.
That's no good. That's sorry. I have a great internet connection here, so I don't really know what's going on. Sorry about that, guys.
That's all right.
That's all right.
So you're saying a lot of distillers, they put it in the barrel, 120 or so?
120 proof is standard, industry standard for what you age a barrel at. And then, when it's time to bottle, you pull it out of the barrel at 120 proof or, right around there, and you just add water until it's at bottle proof. That's just the way it works in the industry. What we find is, one thing, that waters down flavor, and two, at different proofs in the barrel, the whiskey is actually pulling different flavors out of the wood.
Okay.
We have a master blender that we work with named Nancy Fraley, who says above 114 proof, it's largely the alcohol soluble sugars and things that are in the wood and in the barrel that are getting pulled out. Lower than 114 proof, it's a lot of the water soluble things. So we're building complexity through this proof down as it's aging. and you can test it really simple. Like I can pull one of those barrels that has been slow water reduced. Am I losing you guys again, or can you still hear me?
You cutting out for a second, but you're good now.
Good. Okay. All right. We can test the barrels that we've proofed down against the barrels that we haven't touched yet at the same age, same mash bill, same batch, and the difference is remarkable. So we're committed to doing this long term, and I mean, if you guys have tasted this yet, it drinks remarkably well for a 2-year-old bourbon.
Oh, absolutely.
Without a doubt. And I think this is also one thing with Texas whiskeys and bourbons. You guys can produce a product that is around that 2-year age range, and it drinks like a 4 to 6 year bourbon anywhere else because of your hotter climates. It ages quicker. I mean, there's no other way around it. It just does.
It's the fluctuation of temperature too. Like our springs and falls, it can be 40 at night and then 90 during the day. So those barrels are just like breathing constantly,
just bouncing all over the place. I mean,
on the flip side, that's why it takes Scotch so long to age, because they have a very temperate, just shitty 50-degree weather almost all the time. So it takes a long time for those to age.
Yeah, and the color on this is fantastic for a 2-year. So I mean, it just goes back to that the climate in Texas. I really am intrigued with the process you talked about, proofing down the barrels as it ages. It's your guys are the first ones I've ever heard anyone doing that.
Yeah.
So it's a really unique way of doing it. I think that just bodes even more to your guys' statement. I did, a little bit of reading beforehand as far as Still Austin goes. And you guys are huge on the artistic and creativity side of the area, and that Austin brings to society. And I think this, your process in regards to this is just kind of helps put a staple on that.
Yeah, we've been kind of saying like art on the bottle. We got a painting that was done by a local artist there, and so there's art on the bottle and there's art inside the bottle. Yeah.
Now that's what was it? The slow watering? Is that
slow water reduction?
Slow water reduction. Was that something that they were doing before you came on board? I take it.
It was, yeah. So they actually we had this master blender I mentioned named Nancy Fraley. I had actually worked with in Michigan as well, so I had a relationship with her. But she had been on at Still Austin since the beginning, and had kind of helped them even before they put the stills in and bought their equipment and set up their production, on really advising how she wanted it to operate. So that was a big part of us, and so they started doing it since the beginning.
So what was your reaction? Because you were working at a distillery in Michigan, and then you go down to Still Austin. They tell you that this is how they're doing things, and no one else that we know of does it like that, or at least don't advertise it. Like, what was your reaction to that process?
That's the big reason why I moved here, is because I like. Fuck.
Go ahead and say that again. That was the big reason you moved there, because they were doing it different and you hadn't seen it before?
Well, once I tried that 1-year-old bourbon, I was blown away, and I saw that they actually had the ability. We make a lot of bourbon. Like we are larger than most craft distillers in what we can actually produce because of the way we're set up. We have capacity right now for about 5,000 53-gallon barrels a year.
Wow.
Which is a lot. I mean, we got a custom 42-foot tall column still that was manufactured in Scotland for us. Like, beautiful still, large foot capacity, and a few things. Like, one, a company that was making a lot of really delicious whiskey, and two, was willing to sort of change kind of the marketing, branding, messaging behind it to launch this straight bourbon whiskey. So what I tried to do with this bottle and with this product is, I mean, the whiskey market is so crowded, right? And what the big guys make is awesome, like, which is different if you think about it than a lot of other types of alcohol. Something like New Holland Brewery and their Dragon's Milk, like, that's an obvious quality differentiator from like a Miller Lite or something, right? And you can go and sell this and say this costs more, it's better, it's different, like this is why. It's a little bit tougher in the bourbon industry. You know, I can go buy Craig Small Batch for.
You froze there for another second.
So, sorry. So for us, I mean, we just decided we wanted to do something that was unique and interesting, like, you know, really, really high quality product, but with sort of branding and marketing around it that set us apart a little bit. And it was true to our home here in Austin.
Gotcha. Well, the other thing that I like about this particular bottle is I like the little card that we got with the bottle, and it has a little story on the back, and it also has the mash bill on it. So 70% white corn, 25% rye. So that's what we would consider high rye for a bourbon. And then 5% malted barley, all grown in Texas. Right?
Yep.
So I assume that mash bill was something they were working on before you joined, or is that something that you helped develop?
Yeah, no, that's whiskey we had laid down previously. You know, it was before my time when these were laid down. Actually, the one thing that I've contributed to what we're producing right now is when I started here, we had made a little bit of 100% rye, which is fairly uncommon in the industry. You know, you see a lot of like 95% and 5% rye, but not a lot of 100% rye out there. It's tricky. And when I thought it was amazing. So we've been making a lot of 100% rye, planning on that as a future SKU that we'll be releasing.
Nice.
I'm super intrigued for that.
Did you guys catch most of that?
Yes, we did catch most of that.
Producing a rye. Got
100% rye, not 95% rye.
Yeah.
Because the last week we had Pinhook rye humor on, and that's a 95.5. 95% rye, 5% malted barley. Yeah.
That was a unique one for sure.
That was great.
You touched on it before, and I wanted to bring it up again. The label on the bottle. So I know you said as a local artist who drew that. Is there a kind of a story behind that particular picture, or kind of what moved him to go about with this particular label for the bottle? I know, kind of looking at it, the artist who did it is very well known and has done a lot of other artwork for a lot of other high-end companies. Like you guys stated on your page, Gucci and Porsche, to name a couple. So I think it just speaks volumes for him and his quality of work for sure. But is there a story behind the musician, if you will, as it's called?
Yeah, so what we wanted to do is all of our like future flagship releases are going to be oriented around what we call like archetypes of Austin, like characters that we feel like really represent what the city is all about. Mm-hmm. The musician is the obvious first one to start with, right? This is the live of the world.
We lost you there for a second again. Can you say that part again there, Brandon? Talking about the musician.
Might have to kick him out and have him come back on.
It's jumpy, but it's. Are you?
Well, I think we might have lost Brandon. He might jump back.
I mean, the times, or is this?
Well, Brandon, do you want to disconnect and then try to reconnect again and see if maybe that helps?
We'll go over tasting notes, or you think you're good?
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. Let me do that. I'll jump out and jump back in. See.
Of course, now it's working, but all right.
No, that's fine.
So you go ahead and
get
do
a refresh,
and we'll wait for you.
All
right, Dustin, what do you think of this?
So, first of all, I think for being right around the 98, 99 proof.
Well, 98.4.
98.4. It drinks much lighter than that, to me, anyways. You know, for being
in a good way, or
in a really good way, absolutely. Okay. I get a mixture of notes off the nose, so kind of like a honey vanilla. I know I try to refrain from looking at what it says on the card in front of us, but it puts the term egg custard.
I know I wasn't going to bring that
egg
up.
Custard. I feel like that's holiday related.
That was not from them. That was someone doing a whiskey review on the product, and they liked it enough to actually publish it on this little, almost like a door hanger.
But now I'm curious if it would go well with eggnog. Not that I would want to mix it, but
'tis the season.
It is. But I think it's got a really unique nose of that honey vanilla, and I get some of that off the taste too. The finish is brief. It doesn't linger. It coats my palate, coats my whole tongue, sticks around the outsides though, a little bit on the tip and on the outside. And I think that's that the white corn, that sweetness that he spoke of. Overall, though, I think it's really, really good.
Yeah, when I read the label and saw that it was aged at least 2 years, there's a lot of times I see that and it starts setting off red flags in my mind. And because we've all had whiskeys that were young and they tasted young.
Yeah.
Or they just tasted.
You could tell it was.
Yeah, they just taste so corn heavy, or they just taste like rubbing alcohol. So, but again, the color that is on this bottle, a lot deeper and darker than what I was expecting. It's got a nice caramel color to it. And I get that.
Nice amber caramel.
Yeah, I get. Brandon's back. We're going to add him on here. Welcome back,
nice
Brandon.
Amber maple.
We're going over some of our tasting notes that we get from it. But yeah, I definitely get this nice vanilla and caramel on the front.
Mm-hmm.
And then I do get this spice on the back. It's the whiskey itself, I think, has a short finish, but the spice lingers just a little bit.
Yeah.
But it lingers on the roof of my mouth and not on my tongue.
Yeah. See, mine's more just, it coats the tongue and it's almost like a weird tingle.
A weird tingle.
A weird tingle.
So, Brandon, what do you like about this product? Like, what are your notes? Like, how do you think it drinks? Why do you like this?
Steve said just the tip.
I think so. I just joined on my phone. Hopefully it doesn't look too shitty, but
no, you're fine.
Should work. Okay.
Maybe.
Is just kind of the level of complexity there. There's just a lot of different flavors going on. Like usually with 2-year-old whiskey, it's more one note with what's happening. And also
dang, I hate when this happens, but it's technology, folks. And yeah, it had to be on a night when Steve's not feeling well too.
I know. Leave it to technology to ruin it for us.
I don't even understand. I'm not connected to my internet.
Welcome back.
Sorry, you guys.
That's all right. We've had plenty of episodes with technology issues that happens. Yeah. So you were talking about you were talking about how this being young, most young whiskeys tend to be one-dimensional.
Yeah, and I think the level of like depth and complexity here is pretty unique for a 2-year. And a lot of Texas whiskeys end up really emphasizing like the char flavors of the barrel, like, because of the heat. That's one thing. While our product is aging relatively quickly, we only use full-size 53-gallon barrels because we find here that in smaller barrels, the flavors get unbalanced. You just get a lot of the char flavor of the barrel and not a lot of the other complex flavors. So that's a big part of it. And then also, I think this drinks really well for being as high as a proof as it is. I mean, it's nearly 100 proof. And it really doesn't, like, I wouldn't guess that if I hadn't had it and was blindfolded and told to guess what the proof was.
Yeah, it definitely does not drink like a 98 to 99 proof.
Yeah, that was like the first thing you mentioned about it.
I would be intrigued because I'm a person who loves high proof stuff.
Yeah.
I would love to try this at 110 or push the 120 envelope.
Dustin loves single barrel proof.
I love barrel proof stuff. I do. I can't hide it. I love to taste it straight from the barrel, as far as what the distiller would taste it and go from there.
So this is not a product yet available in Ohio where we are located.
We are only in Texas at the moment.
Okay.
Actively working on launching new markets. What we will have coming online soon is an online portal where people will be able to go and order the product and have it shipped to them.
Okay,
Oh,
that's cool.
awesome.
That helps.
Probably still not in Ohio because it's state regulated.
Yeah, Ohio is one of the toughest states to actually get into if you're outside of Ohio.
Yeah,
if you're inside Ohio, it's easy, but if you're outside, man, it's a pain in the butt to get into sometimes.
What is the retail for one of these bottles in Texas?
Between $40 and $45.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
That's a steal.
Yeah, I grab a bottle of this all the time.
Because we talk about how sometimes when you have newer, younger companies getting into it, and they're making especially if they're making their own juice, or more so if they're sourcing.
Yeah, if they're sourcing, the prices will be higher.
But when they're young, they're still trying to recoup some of that cost. So we tend to see them start out at like that 50 and up. It seems like. So
if I could throw shade on the industry a little bit, like that, that's just, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier with the big guys making such good stuff at lower prices. I mean, I don't know if I was cutting out earlier when I said it, but the fact that I can go buy a bottle of Elijah Craig for like $32 at 94 proof, and it's awesome. Like, what is a craft distiller doing to release young juice at $50+ and say, like, you need to pay me this money for this? Like, it doesn't make sense. It needs to be something really special or really unique.
I think for craft distillers, in a sense, with how saturated the market is anymore, they have to come up with something and almost reinvent the wheel. In a sense, kind of, if you think about it, it's just a similar version of what happened in the 80s when it was just your regular bourbons and Blanton's came out with single barrel.
Yeah,
and Booker's had his very limited small batch.
Right.
That it was something new. It was something different that kind of brought people in. Granted, they were big distilleries at the time, but I think for the craft distillers, it's going to have to be something similar to that. Where we had a ladies' night
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, yeah. And Andemic from Watershed was on and brought. They had we still have a little bit left in the bottle.
It's the 4-year.
It was a 4-year barrel strength bourbon, but it was aged in their Nocino barrels.
It was finished
in their Nocino barrels.
Oh, that's cool.
Right. They're a local craft distillery here in Columbus, but it was something a little bit different. And to be honest with you, it had a very unique flavor. It was super, super delicious.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. But I think, things along those lines are something that some of these craft distilleries probably need to dabble in a little bit. And I'm sure a lot of them are. For example, you guys are starting to use blue corn as well. And it's a unique mash bill. Like you said, 51 corn and 44 rye.
Yep. 5% barley.
Yeah.
5% barley. Like it's something unique.
Yeah.
For sure.
So is that kind of what you guys, is that the 5-year, 10-year plan is to keep doing your own thing and, to kind of be cliche to keep still Austin, still weird? And is that where you guys want to continue going and keep doing things differently? Is that your niche?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this bourbon we've released will be our flagship for a long time, and it's a more standard mash bill, and I think will carry a lot of the weight for us for a while. But we're definitely proactively laying down stuff that's different and weird, specialty types of corn. We just distilled a bunch of Oaxacan green corn recently, just to try that out. Yeah, we've done a bunch of blue corn. We've done some Jimmy red corn. Fun to work in tandem with our farmers to get these weirder varietals and then explore what mash bills really work with those varietals for sure. Is a huge part of it.
Being down in Texas, you have, as far as the farming industry goes, you have a very unique niche of farmers who do those very unique blends of different types of corn and grains that allows you to explore those in different ways. And I think that's super, super cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, this bottle is just the beginning for us. We'll have a bottled and bond series coming out in a few years with a few of these varietals that we've talked about. Like there's a lot of cool stuff happening for sure.
Now you guys do a gin too, correct?
We do.
Now, was that did they distill the gin first and then proceed into the bourbon, or kind of all at the same time?
The gin came later, actually. And, the obvious question is, why does a whiskey distillery make a gin?
We've had that on here before. Go ahead.
What makes it really interesting for us is, so almost every gin that you've ever had, what the distiller does is they buy in neutral grain spirit, so just totes of almost pure ethanol. You water that down, you add the botanicals, and you distill it again, and that's how you make gin. What we do that's really unique is we actually make our base distillate from scratch, and it's made with 60% rye, and we deliberately do not distill it all the way up to neutral grain level, so it retains some of the rye flavor and also increases like the viscosity of it almost. So what we have is a gin that's like has a lot of rye spice flavor to it, and then we added the botanicals to balance with that. So it's a pretty unique gin. It's not terribly juniper heavy, but we think it's like it's a whiskey drinker's gin is what we say.
And it's funny you say that, because I know one of the first times I ever had gin, I felt like I was drinking a Christmas tree.
Yep.
Very piney and sprucey. And it's interesting that you say, about using the rye, and you get a lot of those rye spices, because a lot of the rye that I love, and I'm sure, Nate loves, and I know Steve loves, is you get a lot of holiday notes from it. We all love Willett's ryes. They're phenomenal.
Yeah.
And E.H. Taylor's small straight rye. And drinking those, it tastes like Christmas Day almost, with all those holiday spices. And I think kind of adding that into that kind of aspect into a gin, you want to talk about a holiday gin. I can't say that gets more holiday than that.
So, Dustin, next time you go to Texas, just bring some back.
Or we could just have Eric do it, because he lives down in
Oh,
Texas.
That's right. We do have a guy. He actually used to work at the Tinder Box, the cigar shop that this all comes out of, who just moved to San Antonio this year.
Nice.
He had briefly moved
North Carolina,
near Fort Bragg, and then about a month or two later moved to San Antonio. So, and he's not even in the military. He's in IT. So,
right.
Great guy, and he doesn't even drink. But when he used to work in New York, his boss was a big coffee guy and would always bring in these exotic coffees, and so he would pick up all these notes from coffees. So even though he doesn't drink alcohol,
got a nose like a bloodhound.
He's got an amazing nose for whiskey,
wow.
and he'll just
That's cool.
So
he'll smell it and talk to you about it.
We'll pour him a glass in a Glencairn, and he'll just stick his nose in there and start picking out all these notes, and we're like, yeah, sure, okay, I'll take your word for it.
So we've
got
a
bloodhound. Yeah,
we've got to kind of go back to the gin. We've got Ray Cheshire chiming in, who's good friend of ours and loyal listener from Vietnam, who says the gin sounds interesting. He's not a gin lover because of the botanical taste. So I think you using that rye kind of helps balance that out a little bit more. And I'd be intrigued.
Like a bridge.
Yeah, I know Watershed does it, but they have a barrel aged gin that they age in their old whiskey barrels. I don't know if that's something that's in your guys' realm of ideas down the line.
We've been experimenting with that, but we started doing that when I first came on board last year, and then I think we got distracted and kind of forgot about it. We have a gin. We have a gin still in barrel that's been in barrel for maybe like 16 months or so.
I'd be pulling that guy out. That could be a special release right there for the holidays.
I know. Yeah. Well, we actually have something we're already releasing for the we have just some distillery exclusive like releases that we do here that's only available here at the distillery. I don't even know why I brought this up. That's shitty of me. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Can I just give you my address and you just ship a bottle?
So Brandon, we've had you on for a while now. I know your time is short and what you're limited to. Do you want to hang out while we talk about the cigar, or do you need to cut out?
I think I need to go, guys. I'm sorry. I got a young baby here at the house, and my wife kind of texted me on the sly here. So
That's
Hey,
fine.
that's all right.
Obviously, family takes priority.
Absolutely.
So, real quick on a because normally we do at the end of the first part we do a rating. So, how would you rate the Still Austin Straight Bourbon Whiskey on a scale of 1 to 10?
1 being worst, 10 being the best.
dude, you usually ask like the people whose stuff it is to rate their own shit first.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
And then we call horse shit on anyone who rates it a 10. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well, fuck that. No, that would be stupid. I'm gonna give this, and I'm thinking about the whiskey category generally, like all whiskey or all bourbon, let's say, that exists. I'm gonna give this a 7.4.
Wow.
Okay.
One, super specific with a 0.4.
Oh, do people
Also-
usually just stick with the like 7?
No, like
No,
they'll
we
do-
usually get a
they made you-
7.4 or a 7.47.
Yeah, like no, they sometimes they'll do 7, 7.5, 8. Like they'll do halves, not necessarily 10. Get down to the 10s, but that's lower than what I was expecting. Why a 7.4?
Well, I need some room for these bottled and bond series we're gonna release and stuff like that. I mean, I can't be calling this like an 8.7, and then what room do I have to go up from there? So I think this is fantastic. This is what I'll say it. This is one of the best whiskeys available that's made in Texas right now. I believe
would
that.
second that.
Yeah, I would third that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just I'd said in the whole gamut of whiskey, or bourbon, like there's a lot of great shit out there, and I'm trying to be a little humble. I think 7.4 is good.
Okay. All right. Dustin, what about you?
So overall, I think the whiskey, I mean, it drinks phenomenally. It's very smooth. The finish is not long. It doesn't linger too much at all. And, for the proof that it is too, it sneaks up on you. Great flavor profile, both on the nose and the taste. I would give it a solid 8.
Okay.
Kind of go on Brandon's terms, 8.3.
Oh yeah, I'll take it.
So for me, if it wasn't on the back of the label, if we didn't have this little shelf talker that was sent to us, I would not have expected this to be a 2-year whiskey.
No,
I would not have expected this to be pushing close to 100 proof. Like this definitely tastes something more along the lines of 6+ year bourbon for me. It drinks more like it's 90 or less proof on my palate. It's sweet, but it's not corny.
Mm-hmm.
Not to try and be funny, but like even though it is a 70%,
it's not your mellow corn.
Yeah, it's not yellow corn. It's white corn. It's going to have a different flavor profile.
I said mellow corn.
And I think having that high rye content at 25% with the white corn, I think that helps balance it out. I think the rye puts enough spice in there to where it's not an overly sweet whiskey, but yet the corn stands up to that higher rye content. So it's a very well balanced, and also being that good of a whiskey, being something that we can't get here in Ohio, something that's in Texas. I would also not expect this to be a $40 to $45 bottle. I would expect this to be on a shelf at more than $50.
Yep.
So the fact that it drinks smoother than what the proof indicates, the fact that it's more complex than the age indicates, and just overall tastes better, it tastes like a value for $40, $45. I'm at like that 8.5 to 9 out of 10 on this.
Oh shit! You guys are making me feel bad now. Can I change?
No.
Everyone's entitled to their own. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I mean, we have had people come up here and give their stuff extremely high ratings.
And normally Nate's the one who gives a 7.4.
Yeah. My nickname after an episode a few months ago was I'm the Russian judge. Like everyone's giving 8s and I'm over here with a 3. Like,
Yeah.
so, but no, and then one time we had the master distiller on from Chicken Cock Whiskey a couple months back,
Mm-hmm.
and I absolutely loved their rye, and I gave that rye a very, very, very high rating. And someone actually called me out and going, "Who paid off the Russian judge?" And I'm like, and then the next week, well, that night though, my wife went online because she heard me talk about how much I liked that rye. She went online and bought me a bottle of it because it's not available in Ohio. She had to buy me a bottle out of Missouri. And so the next week I was like, all right, for those of you saying that I was bought, no, I went out and bought my own bottle. I liked it that much. So Brandon, we appreciate having you on. Thanks for taking the time to be with us. We
really appreciate it.
Understand you got to go take care of the family, but you got a great thing going here. So
I'm excited to see it hit the shelves here in Ohio eventually. And as soon as it does, I'll be definitely one of the ones to buy a bottle.
Yeah. So. Well, hey, it was great to meet you guys. Sorry for some of the technical difficulties.
That's
Glad
all right.
Figured it out. I will say I did check, and we will be shipping to Ohio when that store goes live on our website, which will be next week.
I dig it. You said next week?
Next week.
All right.
Looks like we're making a shipment.
Yeah. So for everyone listening, I hope you heard that. So Brandon, thanks for joining. Have a good evening.
Thanks so much, guys. You've been great.
Thank you. Yeah, so if you like what we thought about the Still Austin, next week, their portal, you can actually go online, Ohio, and purchase it. So that's great. All right. Well, that was fun. Now the cigar. Now the cigar. Let's bring that up. So we are smoking the Alec Bradley Black Market Esteli Diamond. That's a mouthful.
Shine bright like a diamond.
So we've done the Black Market Esteli before. This is the Esteli Diamond, which it's diamond pressed. It's not box pressed. It's actually diamond shaped, and it sits in the box like a diamond. You're not really going to be able to see it too well with the camera, just because we're a few feet away from the camera. But it's a tweak on the regular Black Market Esteli.
Now, we talked about it a little bit before because I made the comment that we've had the Black Market Esteli on before in the past. And you said, but we haven't had this one.
Yes.
And you asked me what was different. I said, I don't know. The band looks a little bit different.
You didn't even notice the shape.
I didn't. Well, it was in the cellophane still. So
it's a hard diamond. So several years ago,
most diamonds are hard, by the way.
Okay. So several years ago, Alec Bradley, they have a cigar called the Nica Puro, and they did the Nica Puro rough cut. And it was the same basic concept. It was that cigar in a diamond shape. The box is diamond shaped. The lid opens, kind of hinges up. It's a very awkward box to put on a shelf. But it was a little bit of tweak on the blend. And that's what they did here. So it's still Nicaraguan wrapper, Nicaraguan filler, and then a double binder, Nicaraguan Honduran.
So it's still a Nicaraguan Puro.
Well, they have a Honduran binder.
Oh, Honduran
it's a double binder. Nicaraguan and Honduran binder.
Okay.
What they do differently for the diamond is they add an extra leaf of Lajero into the filler.
Okay.
The other door is open. Yeah. The other door. We got someone trying to army crawl through the door.
I would have been intrigued to watch that happen. I'm not going to lie. It's their buddy Shannon.
So for anyone asking, why the diamond? So I remember when I was in college many years ago, it seems.
Right.
There was a cigar that I used. When you're in college and you don't make a lot of money, you tend to buy cigars online. Poor broke college student. But there was a cigar that I would get and just absolutely fell in love with, and it was called the Trilogy. And that was actually made by Alan Rubin, the founder, creator of Alec Bradley Cigars. So what was so unique about that cigar is it was a triangle shape. And a lot of times you look at it and you're like, why in the world would you make a triangular shaped cigar? It fit in between your fingers just so perfectly.
Just so snug.
Yeah, and they had Cameroon, they had Maduro, they had different blends, different wrappers, and it was a different cigar. It was very unique, kind of like with what Still Austin is doing, just something a little bit different. So the diamond that they did with the rough cut Nica Puro, and then here with the Black Market Esteli, is kind of an homage to that, to having that. Instead of the trilogy and triangle shape, it's the diamond shape, 4 sides.
Yeah, it's a really unique, like you said, shape of it. And a lot of times, we see your typical round, and then your box press or soft box press, for that matter. The diamond shape is very, very unique for it. And this is honestly the only one I've seen. I'm pretty sure it's probably the only one on the market. I could be wrong. There could be other ones out there, but it does fit snug and when you're holding it. Yeah. It feels more comfortable. I've noticed I've had some box pressed cigars, and more so soft box press, that the way that I hold it tends to be kind of at an angle, and then over time as you smoke it and it loosens up, it kind of forms into that shape of your finger and more or less that diamond shape.
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily notice too much of that extra leaf of Ligero, but I do get a little bit extra spice from it.
Yeah. So we've talked about it before. When you're when you have a blend that you blended for a round cigar, and then you do a box press. So say something like the Laranja or the Medulla Oblongata from Asylum. Sometimes, depending on the press, they have to tweak the blend a little bit, whether it be adding a leaf or taking a leaf out, in order for it to be able to smoke. Because regardless of how you shape the cigar, you still have to be able to pull air through it. So some companies, the way they do a box press is it may tighten the draw a little bit, so they got to take a leaf out. Some companies, it loosens it up, and so they have to put another leaf in, so that way it's not too airy and just burns up too quickly. So with Alec Bradley and this cigar, they add more Ligero into it. I don't think necessarily it's going to produce a whole lot more strength, or at least not enough that's going to be noticeable. It's more about keeping it balanced and being similar to the regular round cigar.
Yeah. Do you feel the standard Black Market Esteli is more of a medium full or a full body cigar?
Medium to full.
Now, what would you say this is?
I would still say this is still going to be medium to full.
Okay.
It does have for me, smoking as many cigars as I do, it does have a little bit more spice, I think, than the regular Black Market Esteli. I think you would have to maybe smoke them side by side in order to really tell if there's much of a difference there. But no, they only did 1,500 boxes.
Really?
They did 1,500 boxes, 16 count boxes. So
wow.
Yeah, and it was supposed to go out in June of this year.
Obviously, with everything going on, it got pushed back.
Obviously, things got delayed, but from some of the things I read, that actually works out in our favor, because what it did is it allowed the tobaccos in that cigar to marry a little bit more together. And so it actually enhanced the flavor of the cigar.
Created a minor aging process.
Yes. Yeah. So if there's one good thing that... No. But no, I mean, so it's still released, just, it was pushed back a few months.
Do you think they'll do another release of this, or is this kind of a one-time shot?
Of doing the diamond shape?
Yeah.
Or this specific cigar, or
another cigar? So they have the Black Market Esteli.
Yes.
It's a standard rotation for Alec Bradley.
Yes.
But the diamond press itself. Or do you think they might tinker around with maybe some of their other blends and try to do the same thing with it?
I think they did it with this because this is one of their best-selling brands, but they didn't want to necessarily stain the reputation of, say, the Prensado, which was #1 cigar of the year.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to take your #1 cigar of the year and change it up. really.
That's
and
true. The
try and-
Prensano is a phenomenal cigar too.
It is, but
Phenomenal
so
cigar.
but so's the regular black market Esteli.
Oh, absolutely.
And I have to keep throwing Esteli because there is the black market, and then there's the
Yes.
black market Esteli. They're two different cigars. So
And
I wish I could just cut that out, but
the
I want to make
Esteli is-
sure I want to make sure our listeners know exactly what
And the
cigar we're talking
Esteli is the growing region, correct?
Yeah, it's a region in Nicaragua.
Okay.
So I think they may do more of this cigar. I don't know if because they when they did the Nica Puro, I think it was around for a couple years and then that was it. It was gone. I don't know if they plan on doing another batch or say do another 1,500
Be a
boxes.
question for Ryan Panis.
Yeah,
for
we
sure.
can ask. No, it's a question for Alan Rubin. That's who that question's for.
Yeah, that's true.
Ryan may know. No disrespect to Ryan Panis. He's a great guy. He's probably focused on the Corinthian leather, though.
Which I've yet to try. I've heard great things on it, though.
Good luck finding them.
Uh-huh.
Because they were a limited release. Hopefully they do more because that was a phenomenal cigar. And I have at least one still in my humidor. So
Cherishing that bad boy, aren't you?
yeah. And I know I think it was Ray Cheshire had asked earlier because we were talking about how it feels in the hand. He was asking how it feels in the mouth. It feels like a cigar in the mouth. I mean, it even though it's diamond press, it's very soft in the edges and in the corners. I think
it's a little harder in the far corners, but to be honest with you, I guess for
just turn it a little sideways and it's fine.
To Steve's favorite term, the mouthfeel is.
I think that's your favorite.
No, no, it's not. It does seat well in the mouth, if you will, Ray. But it smokes very well. The added leaf of Lajero does give it a little uptick in spice. I think overall it goes really well with the whiskey. I don't know about you, but I think they balance each other pretty well.
They do. I think they both have enough spice to where the spice flavors from both the cigar and the whiskey marry together. I think the sweetness from the whiskey helps it stand up to the cigar a little bit.
Yeah.
So 1 out of 10
for the cigar.
Yes, because we've already done the whiskey.
So for the cigar, I'd give it a solid 8.
Okay,
solid 8.5. I think it does. The construction on it's phenomenal. The diamond press is very unique. For someone, I do like soft box presses. Not a huge fan of the more hard, rigid corner box presses per se, but I think the shape of it is very unique. It adds a very I want to say a different smoking experience, but it because of the way that it does fit into your hand better and the way it smokes, it's different in a good way. But yeah, I think the flavor profile on it's really great. Not too over the top. I think it's more of that medium range, maybe a little more medium plus, but not too much into that full range at all. And I to kind of go with the whiskey and round it out. Like I said, it does pair very well with the whiskey. The whiskey has a lot of subtle sweetness to it with that white corn. You get a little bit of spice on the back end, but the spice in the cigar and that earthiness really complement with that sweetness of the whiskey. I know some of the pairings that we've had that can be off-putting, but this one it knocks it out of the park for sure.
So I'm going to ask you, and I do not ask this in a negative connotation. Would you consider this a gimmick? Because of them doing the diamond and even the box is in a diamond shape. Like, would you call this a gimmick?
I think it could be, just because of the fact that they've already had the black market Esteli. Now, if they added this out as like another version of it, so like you have some cigars as far as different sizes. You mentioned before you've got the Medulla and the Oblongata ones, round ones, box press, but they're theoretically the same cigar.
Yeah.
I think this could be that same concept of black market Esteli, and then you have the Esteli Diamond. Calling it the black market Esteli Diamond, I think you can get that kind of misconstrued a little bit as far as kind of like the segregation that you have with the Medulla and the Oblongata.
Okay.
But I think they could easily make this into a normal rotation for those who love the black market Esteli, but maybe want to venture into not necessarily a box press, but the diamond press.
Okay. So I don't consider this a gimmick, even though I asked that question. I've been in the industry for a while, and I know there are some people out there that when you do a tweak on something and you try and come up with a fancy shape to the cigar, like say you're doing a perfecto, a double perfecto, figurado, something like that. Some people get a little hesitant about it because they think you're just trying to be fancy to try and push a sale on it.
Ray, marketing ploy, as he said.
But no, I think it is. I think it is still an absolutely fantastic smoke. I like what you said about it being a different offering. It's still a black market Esteli. I don't think that does any disservice to the round shaped cigar.
No.
I think it's just something different, and it's definitely something that if it's at your local shop, you should definitely pick up and try. Because it does taste a little bit different. It is a unique smoking experience with the way it sits in your hand and on your palate. No, I'm with you. I give this an 8. It's a very solid cigar.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the price range on this at the shop?
$10 or $11.
That's not bad.
I think the Toro Esteli is right at that $10 price point. I think this may be a buck more.
Which isn't bad. I mean, if you think about it. Now, is this the only length? This is what, a Toro?
Yeah, it comes in one size.
One size.
It comes in one size. That's it. So that's all you're going to get. Pairing, yeah, I think the pairing is just a solid 8. I actually like the whiskey a little bit more than the cigar.
Okay.
They don't contradict each other. Like I said earlier, I think the sweetness from the Still Austin works well in balancing out some of the spice from this cigar, but yet the spice from the whiskey is still there. So the cigar is not covering up the flavor of the whiskey.
I could see that for sure. I think overall, I don't think I rated the pairing.
You didn't.
I think it was great. I give it a solid 8.5.
Okay.
What would your rating be for the pairing?
I gave it an 8.
Did you?
Yeah. Okay. It was an 8 on the cigar, 8 on the pairing, 8.5 to 9 on the whiskey. I really enjoyed this whiskey, and like I said, part of that was because
1 + 1 = 3.
No, it was 1 + 1 = like half. So
gotcha.
So that's gonna do it for part 1.
So for the holidays, guys like diamonds too.
That was bad.
Yeah, not very punny.
So thank you to Tinder Box at Easton Town Center, Columbus, Ohio, for providing us the Alec Bradley Black Market Esteli Diamond. Jeez. Absolutely fantastic cigar. We really enjoyed it. Part 2 will be lighting up the Monte Cristo Espada Oscuro.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah. Have you
This
had
is
that?
the Robusto, right?
Yes, this is the Robusto.
I'm pretty sure I've had the Toro.
We had the Toro in for a little bit. It was an accident.
I'm excited to revisit the Robusto at least.
So that Monte Cristo obviously provided to us by our other sponsor, Altadis USA. And then BS Cigar Company. I've got some BS. Dustin's got some BS.
There's a lot of BS at the table.
Yep. And then also thank you to Patreon. Patreon.com/bourbon and BS podcast. Thank you to all of our patrons for all your continued support. And be with us and hope
Bourbon and BS podcast. So patreon.com/bourbon and BS podcast.
Yes.
Okay.
And I hope you guys are with us to wish Steve is feeling better soon. Like I said earlier, he's got a little bit of a cough and didn't think he'd be able to get through the podcast without coughing like crazy, and it would just be a distraction.
We've got some Still Austin for you.
That I don't know if that's going to help or hurt, but he definitely texted us to save him some.
No promises.
Okay. So thanks for tuning in to part 1, everybody. Stick around. We're going to take a short break, and then we'll get into part 2. So, cheers.
Cheers.
All right. Hi, Shannon.
You want to see if you want to try part 2?
Shannon, would you like to join us for part 2?
I'm not going to say no. I can't speak for the other side of the table.
Wow. Yeah, you do. There are sticks. You can smoke the one Steve would have had.
He has access to more.
No, if you want, I can move over, and if you want to get in
Slide
between,
in.
or we'll. Yeah.
Grab the
Grab that mic. Well, you got that chair right there. The blue one that my bag's on.
Oh, are we using that one?
If he wants to, that's the one
Oh, okay.
that would normally be here. Is that what we're going to talk about? What I texted you?
As far as I know.
Okay.
Yeah. Can we all just get along?
Yeah.
But really?
Oh, wrong cord. Grab a USB out of the box. It's
So
not very
for-
often that we have someone join in the middle of an episode. We may have to scoot the camera back a little bit.
We will. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to slide it back? I'll let you know. Keep going. Go back to like his lighter. All right. You might go towards you, maybe. Get it recentered. Other way. There you go. For those on the live who are still kind of hanging out, we've got Shannon Chapman joining us for part 2. If anyone has any questions for the panel before we dive in, tonight's topic is, can't we all just get along? Ray, can we all just get along? I think
There's a reason I came up with that.
is there now?
Yeah, there it is.
I'm intrigued to hear what the reasoning is.
Well, I think it may be obvious, but I think it's still
Could be. I don't like to assume things.
I think it's still practical.
Hi, Shannon. Nice of you to join us, brother. Nothing runs like a deer.
Can you push my box over? Don't make it weird. Don't make it weird.
Too late.
It's always going to be weird.
All right. It is a little cold in the garage, so three fat guys sitting next to each other, it'll get a little warm, which is good.
Oh, yeah.
So
Awesome. Well, do we want to get rolling into part 2?
yeah, you want to do the intro and sponsors or I'll do intro, you do sponsors for part 2?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
That's fine.
You guys ready? Welcome back, everybody, to the Bourbon and BS podcast. This is episode 144, part 2. We're going to be talking about can't we all just get along? Part 1, we had Brandon, who is the GM for Still Austin Distillery in Austin, Texas. We had him on. We were drinking the Still Austin straight bourbon whiskey. So if you missed that or you want to go back and listen to it, check out part 1. And Dustin and I did an interview with him and talking about his journey into the industry. And then we brought on one of our favorite local guests, audience members, Shannon, for part 2. Dustin, go ahead and do the sponsors.
So tonight's episode is brought to you by Tinder Box at Easton. This sponsor the first cigar of the night. So thank you, Tinder Box at Easton and BS Cigar Company. There's plenty of BS here on the table, both cigars and the people.
Altadis.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
Calm down.
You skipped them.
Also, Altadis here. You can see the giant banner behind us. They're also our sponsor for tonight. They sponsor the second cigar, the Monte Cristo Espada Oscuro, if I could say that right. Also a phenomenal cigar. So if you've not tried that, please check out, give the Tinderbox a call or swing by there. Pick up both the Alec Bradley Black Market Esteli Diamond and the Monte Cristo Espada Oscuro. While you're in there, both are fantastic cigars. And for all the Patreons out there, thank you so much for all of your support. For those who are interested in it and or questioning what the Patreon page is, go to patreon.com/bourbonandbs podcast. It is a great way to help support the podcast. Anything, if you donate $25 a month, you get a free t-shirt. You can do as little as $5 a month. If you want to do a one-time donation, just go to Hold of the Podcast or Steve. We'll make that work out for you guys. So thank you so much to everyone, and Still Austin for the Still Austin straight bourbon whiskey, and Brandon for joining us in the part 1, like Nate said.
Yeah. So we didn't do this at the beginning of part 1 that we normally do. And before we get into the topic, can't we all just get along? How are you guys doing? We didn't really talk about how we're all doing. I mean, it's for a lot of people, it's been a crazy week.
That's one way to put it.
Regardless of what your political beliefs and affiliations are, I don't care.
What does politics have to do with it?
That seems like it's been.
Was there's an election?
Yeah, there was.
Oh,
and that's kind of been a hot button issue for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot of emotions,
yeah,
getting thrown around. There's you have friends that were fighting with each other, so that's kind of why I came.
Kind of find out who your true friends are in a sense.
It's not necessarily that, and we'll get into it when we discuss the topic. But how are you guys? Like, how has your week been dealing with everything that's going on?
Shannon?
Surprisingly, at the barbershop, it's been quiet.
Go ahead and say that again.
Surprisingly, at the barbershop, it's been quiet. Last week, I guess it would be the election hangover week. Nobody really came out. It was still a busy week, but wasn't as busy. And this week, nobody's really talking politics or COVID or anything. I think everybody's just wore out and just trying to figure out where to go with this next step with everything going on right now.
Yeah, because regardless of how you feel the election turned out, whether you like, as far as we know the results, whether you agree with it, disagree with it, like it or don't like it, guess what? Life goes on.
Yeah.
You still got to, for most of us, you still got to wake up tomorrow and go to work.
Nate, how was your week?
It's a busy week.
Yeah.
Had helping some friends who were dealing with some personal issues throughout the last week. Being there for them and the issues that they were going through. Sometimes those people are there for you. Sometimes you got to be there for them.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you're there for that person, if you become involved in it emotionally, you attach yourself to their situation and you kind of take on some of that weight.
It's emotionally and mentally draining in a sense. It can be anyway.
It can be draining. It wasn't draining for me.
That's good.
I was just there for that person to, basically for them to be an ear.
Yeah. Like I tell people, whether it be at work or even friends, God gave me 2 shoulders, one to lean on, one to cry on. And you choose which one you need.
It's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Also gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. So listen twice as much as you talk.
Yeah. No, that's the truth. Wait, can you say that again for the people in the back?
No, hit rewind or download the podcast next week. No.
There you go.
Or wait till the video ends and watch it again later on tonight.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
Now, my week has been all right. Work has been incredibly hectic and stressful, to say the least. I'm at a new location. I'm going on a month now. Being there.
Where'd you move to? What store?
I am on Refugee in Hamilton, over by the Eastland Mall. Yeah. So anyone in the Columbus area who knows,
Peace be with you.
I thought your last store was a rough location.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Why not put another tally on the ballot, huh?
Peace be with you.
All right. This makes number 4.
All right.
Number 4. But no, it's in all honesty, it's not a bad store. Just like every other store that I've been in. It's not a bad store. It's just, it has its issues. This one very much so has a lot of issues that I'm trying to help work through with the management staff that I've got. So it's a lot of added stress, just because, we've got, some crew members who aren't pulling their weight. So it's having to deal with all of that, as well as on top of prepping for the holiday season, which, ultimately it's not my decision, but we will be one of the, if not the only grocery store that is open on Thanksgiving Day.
Wow. All right.
Yeah. So Walmart will be closed. Meijer will be closed. Target. Yeah. But Kroger will be open. So if you need holiday shopping done for groceries, please, for the love of God,
Do it ahead of time.
fucking go before Thanksgiving Day.
I'm coming that last day for that last turkey.
I will shut the door on you.
Well, you'll probably run into the situation that we've had at the cigar shop before, where you'll have someone come in and be like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you guys are open!" Like, or no, it's the other way. They're like, "Man, you have to work on a holiday." Yeah, what are you doing shopping on a holiday? Like, go spend time with your family. Like, it's a day off.
Oh, 10 minutes before the time we're supposed to close, I'm locking the door.
Shopping.
People get pissed, but hey, I want my people.
Shopping's
got a
break from the
too.
family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
so a new store a month before Thanksgiving.
2 months before. Well, yeah, pretty much a month before. It'll be 2 months.
Okay.
Because a month and a half.
Now you talked about some people not pulling their weight. Seems like that's been the case like every time you start out at a new store.
Yes.
Is that why they bring you in?
Not sure yet. I'd like to think so.
They are training you for
something. It's every store that I've been at has had its challenges. It's all a matter of how you look at it, and I sit here and say it, but I have to also take my own words and own advice, and that's something that I've struggled with. Is you take every day at a time, and you keep moving forward. So while that's all going on, my woo-saw in a sense has been trying to finish the deck that I've been working on for the last month. That I'm, thank God, have gotten at least majority, if not almost all of one railing done today.
All right.
So that's a big plus. But it's slowly coming along, and I made a lot of headway today on it, which was nice.
Are you trying to finish it in your snow boots?
No.
He had great weather for the last week.
Yeah, too bad I only had 2 days off.
Well, that's more than I get. So I get one. I get 1 day off now. I used to have none, but now I get one.
I guess for me this week also, me and my wife, we moved to our new condo.
That's right.
So that was I got to enjoy sweating this weekend. That was pretty good moving, but
sweating. Okay, I thought you said sledding. So
it did snow one day, but I don't think it was enough for
that
sledding.
was the weekend before, but yeah. So we got all that done. That's what I did last night. Grabbed the last little load of knickknacks, and
that's always a stressful endeavor.
It went pretty quick, man. I had a small little army come over, and
that helps.
We had 2 trailers, one enclosed, one open, and we just packed them, and we had the house moved in 4.5 hours.
Wow.
Damn.
That's efficiency right
That's
there.
awesome, dude.
Well, I was running
on the new place.
Yeah, well, I was running the night before a bunch of boxes in my truck, And then we just did all the big stuff that day, and then I just finished up. I didn't want to work them too hard, but that's what friends are for, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So let's get into it. Can't we all just get along? So, as I had alluded to, my thinking behind this, there's been a lot going on. There was a lot going on leading up to the election. There's been just as much going on after the election. You still have people yelling at each other on Facebook, people joining other social media platforms to get away from other people and whatever. The thing is, though, my thinking is you still, like, some of these people are still your friends, right? Now, there's always going to be, like, the extremes on both sides, people that, like, you just can't stand on either side.
Right.
But for the most part, like the three of us, if all three of us had completely different, and I don't know what your guys' beliefs or leanings are, but if all three of us had different beliefs, whether it be religion, whether it be politics, whatever, personal morality, whatever it is, we're still here. Like, we still see each other. We still run into each other at cigar shops, at restaurants, here in the garage for a podcast night. Like, you still have to see people. You're still going to be around people unless you want to, just live in your bedroom and be a hermit the rest of your life.
There's some people who would like that.
Yeah, there are some people who would like that, and there are some people who would like them to just be like that.
Not gonna lie, it's been tempting from time to time.
I get it.
As long as I can smoke cigars and drink whiskey in my bedroom, I wouldn't fucking leave. I might. Yeah,
no,
I would.
I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go as much as I like smoking cigars and drinking whiskey. I would still like to leave my house.
Yeah, that's true.
But you still have to interact with people. You can't avoid everybody who's different than you.
Yeah. And I think that's one thing. Oh, I'm sorry, Shannon. I think that's one thing with, the mutual thing between the three of us and many, if not all, the listeners, is the cigar community. It brings that camaraderie out in everybody, and that mutual understanding that no matter what your beliefs are, what your thoughts are, what your moralities are, that everyone is the same. We're all human. We all make decisions and choices, and ultimately those decisions and choices are your own. You can have conversations, and maybe you sway that person's thoughts or beliefs. But at the end of the day, when you have those conversations, the point of it is not necessarily to do that. Well,
and also there's a right way to go about it.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to have a conversation with the person about what you believe, what they believe, it needs to be a two-way conversation. It can't just be one of you dominating the conversation and trying to shout over the other person. Because as soon as you start shouting, like, that other person's probably just going to lock out, and they're going to just shut down and not care what you say.
Right.
So go ahead, Shannon.
Well, I believe that, when you have a different opinion from somebody else, that's the perfect time to learn from each other.
Absolutely.
See what side they have, what your side is, and you might not agree in the end of it, but
yelling at them is not going to change their mind.
No, absolutely not.
If anything, it's going to make them dig their heels in.
Yeah.
So with everything that's going on, and that's one of the open, if for those of you watching live right now, you see the ticker running across the bottom about asking us questions like, how do you guys just get along? Like, obviously, we all have people in our lives that we disagree with on issues, whatever the issues may be. How do you get along and still maintain a friendly relationship with that person, even though you disagree on something that, may be tertiary or maybe a very big issue for you?
So I think something, and I'll kind of be the first one to dive into it, but one of my biggest faults, and it's my personality, is I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I try not to, but I do tend to take things personally, even if it doesn't directly involve me or pertain to me. I do still sometimes find a way to take it personally, in a sense. in some aspects. Now, if it's something that is kind of directed towards me, then it's, amplified. And that's something that I struggle with from time to time is taking things personally. And, that's one of my biggest flaws. And, it's an ongoing battle and an ongoing, I wouldn't call it a struggle, but it's a recognition.
Expand on what makes it a flaw. Like, why do you see it as a flaw if you take things personally?
Because I can overthink things a lot. So I'll take something and then, especially if it's like one of the last statements, I'll take it and just let it stew and marinate and just kind of brew in there. And
keep
next
you
thing you know, you're going, next thing you know, you're branching off like an old willow tree and you've got all these other little thoughts and
Why
shit
the
dangling.
sad face?
Why the sad face? Why the sad face is. But it can be a double-edged sword. The overthinking can be very daunting. And it is. At the same time, if there is an opportunity or an issue, it does sometimes allow me to explore the various options, I guess, if you will, or thought processes when I do tend to overthink because you're looking at all the other possible outcomes.
Well, let me ask you this. So as you've gotten older in your years here, have you seen a personal growth in the way you've handled certain situations?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So for a period of time, yes. And then I think things that tend to happen, I guess, in a negative manner, the more negative bricks that get built onto that house, the more I tend to focus on that. And so I'll try to focus more on the positive things, but those negative bricks still sit there. They still linger, they still fester, and I know they're there.
Right.
And I try to let them go, and sometimes it'll just bottle up and it just kind of builds and builds, and then next thing you know, there's just like an explosion.
Then you got a Kool-Aid man, that bad boy, and knock it down.
Yeah, well, and sometimes it's a Kool-Aid man, and it backfires on you, and you done busted through the wrong goddamn wall, and the people inside are looking at you like, what the fuck's wrong with you? So I don't know if there's anyone else out there watching and listening who has similar struggles, if you will.
Well, for me, growing up, the upbringing I had was kind of in your face. You handled the situation right now here. There was no letting it stew or think about it. So that's how I kind of lived my teens up and through my 20s, and in my 30s, I would just meet you head on, nose to nose, whatever the topic would be, especially if it was more of a personal thing.
Yeah.
But as I've gotten older, I've been able to mature my thinking and kind of settle into who I am, because I think before I was kind of unsure who I used to be, and I would let that get to me in certain situations. But now I'm pretty sure who I am, and now I can sit back and I can take everything that's thrown at me with a grain of salt, not really get too amped up over anything anymore. It takes a lot to really push me to the edge, but I can sit back and actually have a civil conversation and just kind of put things in perspective and not take, even when somebody's slinging shit at you, I can brush it off and be cool with it for a good bit now. Unlike I used to be.
Agree or disagree, you guys, you can, I think you should always take things personally to an extent, because, and here's why I say that. If you have to care about what's being said or what's happening. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, if you just brush everything off and you don't care about anything, then you might as well just lock yourself in your bedroom and be a hermit. But there's a balance. You can't take things so personally that everything that you disagree with just fires you up and you want to go into beast mode and just fight or yell at anyone who disagrees with you.
Yeah, no, I've definitely learned that balance, because it was 0 to 100 real quick.
Oh, I'm that way.
And now it's like 0 to 50, 0 to 40. I just don't fluff it off. Like, okay, whatever. If it's personally, we're going to talk about it.
See, with me, I don't go 0 to 100 because I usually have the cruise set at 60. So it's going from 60 to 100 is my problem. Is I'm already like right there almost.
Oh no.
So that's something that I've had to work on for a while. Is not letting my emotions take over, but also not letting other people take over my emotions, because then that's what kicks my emotions into high gear, and that's where I hit 100 like that.
See, I'm different. I don't cruise at 60. I'm probably doing 45 and a 55. You know what I mean? I'm always chilled out.
The granny driver.
I'm granny driving, and then if I got to hit the accelerator, it's right there. So
I've gotten better at that. Dustin, I mean, because you brought up taking things personally,
right?
But
so I've gotten better about it. I think one of my biggest drawbacks is when I sometimes will tend to take my stresses from work home, and that's not fair at all to Kathy or Cadence.
Absolutely.
Because I'll come home with an already short fuse, and the littlest thing will set it off, and the next thing I know, I'm snapping at Cadence or something for something minuscule that, I mean, she's 6. She doesn't know. And it's not fair to her. So it's something where I'm trying to separate that. And, when you say, can we all just get along, and as far as, my home life, it's, we do get along, but, not saying that we don't. So, but it's one of those things where trying to separate the multiple outside factors that come into it. Especially, for me with work and the added stress that I have with the new place, the new issues, the new opportunities that I'm facing, and going home, I need to be able to shut that off. So that's something that I'm working through with being at a new store, and it's a struggle at times. So it's a work in progress. I don't have necessarily all of the stress relievers that I used to have at one point, just because, with the busy schedule and life changes. But, I wouldn't change what I have now for anything in the world either.
So with a busy schedule, how do you find time how do you make time for those stress relievers?
Sometimes you don't.
Okay.
And for me, it's a lot of times you don't. There's, with everything going on in the world, it's made it even more difficult. Can
I give you a suggestion?
Sure.
Those times where you can't get away and just like do whatever it is that helps you relieve the stress. I find it very helpful if I'm at a crazy day at the barbershop or whatever it is. If I pull into the drive and I sit there for good 5-10 minutes in silence, man, and just kind of recap the day, pick out the good, the bad, and what's I can throw in the trash and what I can take in the house with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's helped me a lot.
I've done some of that. I found myself, I don't listen to the radio really much anymore. I've been listening to some other podcasts. I've been listening to Ed Milet and Andy Frisillo a lot more. On my way to and from, because, it's a 45-minute drive to work now. And, each way. So I've been listening to them a lot more and kind of getting some different things and aspects from them, and, to try to help build myself up personally. So that way, when I get home, maybe there's other stressors that Kathy's dealt with, her business, trying to, continue to get that off the ground. And then, dealing with things with Cadence and her school and dance and cheer and, everything else that she's in. So, when I come home, I can be that branch for her that she can reach out to and talk to, because, she doesn't have that adult interaction until it's me coming home. And, sometimes it's, I've had nothing but adult interaction with what seems like children, but they're not. So it makes it difficult, but I love your point, Shannon, of trying that method. And it's something I'm going to definitely look at, especially with that 45-minute drive home, of turn everything off.
Because I want to bring up what Ray.
Oh yeah.
Oh, did the mouse die? Son of a bitch.
Just have
there
to
we go. All right. I want to bring up what Ray said. Very honest, Dustin. It's not easy to escape the everyday. Most people will lie and say they can when they clearly cannot.
Oh, I clearly cannot.
I think
I'm just being bluntly honest. I can't, as much as I try. And there's some days where I'd like to skip out of work early and go to the range and blow off some rounds and some stress. But with work I can't even do that. It's a lot of times Kathy asks me, "What time are you off?" 5, and it's 5:30, 6 o'clock till I leave the store.
I think one thing that's important that you started to touch on a little bit is whatever your input is, that's going to be your output. So if all you're doing is taking in negative, then when something small happens at home, like you had said, negative comes out.
Yep. No, you're absolutely right.
Because all you've done is fill yourself with negative. You don't have anything positive. You haven't listened to anything positive. You haven't talked about anything positive. All your mind is seeing is negative. So anything that happens, you immediately see negative to it.
No, you're absolutely right.
Did you guys ever watch the show Dirty Jobs with Mike Rowe? Remember that?
Yeah, it's been a while.
One of my favorite ones. He was shadowing a guy who had his own business, and he emptied out septic tanks. Right? So we all know what septic tanks are.
It's a real shitty job.
He used to be a psychologist.
Something went wrong.
No. So Mike Rowe had asked him, it's like, why would you leave such a noble profession of being a psychologist to emptying out septic tanks? And he goes, because with this, I don't take the work home with me.
You take the smell, though.
Yeah, but you can wash that off. You can wash the smell off. You can leave your clothes outside, or if you have a little entry room, you can leave your clothes there.
That shit's coming home with you, literally.
But it's your stuff that you're bringing home. It's not other people's crap that you're bringing home.
Absolutely.
I think that's why I love the barbershop, man. I love to listen to people. That's been one of my, I guess, giftings in life, that I can sit and listen, and I don't judge anybody. I truly listen to somebody when they talk, and
it's a good fit for you. As little time as I've known you, that's a good fit for you.
Thank you. It's cool to sit and just listen to people. I love listening and hearing stories of where they come from, how they got to where they're at. If they moved out of state to Ohio, or family, or whatever it is. I really enjoy listening to people's stories, and a lot of times they're achievements they've made, or sometimes it's some down stuff, man. But
except for when I come, usually it's kind of quiet.
Yeah, I don't like talking to you, bro.
I don't blame you. I apologize, man. I come over, I get my hair cut. I'm quiet as hell. it's almost my
earmuffs
time.
on.
You jam out, I'm sitting there going, "Oh, woosah."
Yeah, but I do. I thoroughly love this profession, man. It just gives me a chance to really thrive in what I feel like I'm good at.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And just to hear people's stories. I think we've forgotten how to listen in society. We all want to talk. And
that's why I said the 2 ears, 1 mouth earlier.
And if you just take time to sit and actually listen to somebody and truly listen to their story and what they're saying, you can get a lot out of it.
Mm-hmm. So for those of you that are listening live right now, if you could, go ahead and throw out into the comments things that you do to get along with people that you may have issues with, people that you've had it out with lately. So that's, so
we got a question from Ray.
Do we?
Yeah, it's for Shannon.
Oh, I'm not bringing that up.
Oh, come on.
Ray asked, "Hey Shannon,
I'm going to report him.
Do you do manscaping at the shop?"
Shannon, do you have a VIP room?
Just for Ray when he flies in. It's a Ray room.
There you go.
It's a champagne room at that point.
Champagne room.
Big tips, Ray. Big tips.
So I want to add something else into this. So, like I said, we've all had, we've all seen a lot of negative things being said leading up to the election, post-election. we'll probably still see a bunch of negative things going on because it's never going to go away. There's always going to be people that agree with it and disagree with it.
Negative spreads faster than positivity.
I got a great analogy to that, but that's very well put. So let's say that leading up to this or since this, you've had a blowout with someone, a friend, someone that you hang out with, someone you admire, someone that you consider to be a close friend. And you guys, over whether it's the election or whether it's any other, I mean, let's say it's 2 years from now when we're not in the middle of a presidential election race.
Or COVID.
Or hopefully COVID's done by then. But let's say you've had it out with someone. How do you repair that relationship and move on and get along?
I guess that really depends on what's said. I mean,
and if it's worth rekindling or repairing.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's a lot of variables I think that go into it. I think ultimately, like Shannon's saying, it's, what was it over, what was said, what, I think a lot of that plays into it, but ultimately, is this the first altercation that you had with this person? If it was, then, maybe some kind of refresh time, and, a little bit of time to hit the reset button and kind of regroup, regather, and then maybe revisit it. On the flip side of that, you can play devil's advocate. Who initiates it first at that point? Is who's going to be the bigger man?
That was something I was actually just thinking about to expand on it. Like,
yeah,
if let's say you've had a moment to calm down, and really think about things, and you came to the realization that you were in the wrong. You took things too personal. You blew it up. You were the aggressor, the instigator.
If I am at fault, then it's on me to be the bigger person and rekindle that. If it's the first blow up, first altercation that you and this other friend has had, and you've not had any other kind of negative conversations amongst each other, in regards to one another, then I'll take a little bit of time, kind of regroup, regather myself, and look at both sides of it.
Do you hope it just goes away and they get over it, or do you actually take steps? Shannon, you're shaking your head, but go ahead, Dustin, then Shannon.
Yeah, I would. I always try to look at both sides of the story. It's just the way that I am, because there's always two sides.
That's easier said than done, I feel like.
For a lot of people, yeah. I think for those of us who, like you said, 2 ears, one mouth, you got to listen twice as much. In that altercation, you might have listened only once and spoke, whereas you should have listened twice. And that second time listening is probably going to be after the fact, and where you can regather. And that's where my overthinking kind of comes into play. And that's where I think about everything. I think about what they said. Why did he say what he said or she said, whoever it may be, and why did I say what I said? What caused that? What instigated it? What started it? If I'm the root cause of it, why did I start it? What in God's green earth caused me to go off the deep end? Was it something outlying that was outside of that whole conversation between the two of us? Or was it something that was underlying that they had already done that caused me to, that was the straw that broke the camel's back? There's, I think, a lot of variables that kind of play into that, but ultimately after the fact, at least for me, I'll think about everything that was said, especially if it's someone that I hold dear as a good friend of mine and close, and a confidant that I can go to for various things. Maybe they're a member of my board of directors, and we had a disagreement and things blew up, and then we kind of went our separate ways. Why all of a sudden did something just be that thing that blew up and split us up? So I would think about everything that happened and everything that was said, and kind of look at their side of it, put myself in their shoes, because at the end of the day, you can't know what or how someone's feeling or how they're acting if you don't put yourself in their shoes or see from their side of the perspective.
Shannon, you were shaking your head before Dustin answered when
you said about just letting it, I guess, go away. Like
you hope either that person forgets or
Oh,
gets
yeah.
gets over it, or do you actually take steps?
People just don't get over it, man. When it comes to that kind of situation where it's got to the point where you need to separate in an argument, whatever it is, it just doesn't go away. So you have to, whenever you see this person again, you have to meet back where you left off, hopefully with cooler heads, but you just never know what happened with that person in that day. They could have had a shitty day up until that moment and he just took it out on you. So I fully believe in
Going back to all the negative input and negative
yeah,
output.
I fully believe in the second chance. I mean, if we can sit down and try to rehash it and see where it goes from there, hopefully we have cooler heads, or maybe he's, damn, I had a shitty day, brother. I'm so sorry that I came at you the sideways, or it could have been my fault too, but I always believe there has to be a second chance in those kind of situations, because you just can't, I mean, you can walk away, but you'll always, every time you see that person, you're just gonna be like, man, I wish I could rehash that, or I wish we wouldn't have left it like that. But I will always, in those situations, I will always be the bigger person, be like, hey, man, shit went sideways last time. Let's see if we can bring it back around and see where it goes from here. If we don't get along,
Rehash
then we
it.
don't get along.
Yeah. I want to bring up another thing that Ray asked. Ray, we appreciate you asking us questions. Normally Steve's the one doing all this, and Steve does a great job at already having in his mind the route and directing the conversation.
Yeah,
and it's a little difficult without Steve here being that driver.
Who's
we're
this
flying
Steve
by the
guy
seat of
you're
our
talking
pants.
about? Who's
So
this Steve guy?
Yeah, so we appreciate
apparently owns that place. I don't know.
we appreciate Ray, and we appreciate anyone who's asking questions. And no, Ray, you're not the only one listening. So Ray asked, can I ask whether during, and I'll expand on this a little bit, can I ask whether during this election process, if there have been any heated incidents at the Tinder Box? So I'll speak to that first. So, because I work at the Tinder Box, and normally, if it wasn't COVID going on, there would probably be some heated discussions going on at the Tinder Box, because you'd have a bunch of our regulars hanging out in the shop smoking.
All with different beliefs.
And they do have different beliefs. A lot of times it tends to be more one-sided than the other. But that being said, there's a couple people in particular that I know in the shop. They have been outnumbered when it comes to a discussion or to a topic, to politics, whatever it is. And, so it may be 5-on-1, 4-on-2, whatever it is. Usually it's like 5-on-1. So you have 5 people all coming at this one individual because they're different.
Yeah.
But when that does happen, that one person still comes back to the shop. Those 5 people that were going after them still let them come into the shop and still hang out with them. They still talk to them. They still smoke cigars. They're still friendly. They're still cordial. They're still professional with that person.
They're probably still friends with that person.
They are still friends with that person. Like, even though, and they understand that person has a different belief than they do, but they're not going to ostracize that person because of their different beliefs.
Right.
They're going to discuss their different beliefs and why they think they're right or they're wrong, but they're going to have a conversation, and they're still going to welcome that person back into the conversation next time. So, Dustin, you're at a store. Shannon, I'm going to go with you first, because I feel like you have a little bit more customer interaction being in a barbershop than managing when you're managing a grocery store. You don't have a whole lot of time to talk politics with customers.
I don't get a lot of time to talk politics with customers, but a lot of times the customers bring it up to me anyways.
Okay.
As
probably more so
avenue.
now during COVID.
Yeah.
Okay. So a little bit different situation, but Shannon, so you're a barber, so you got people coming in, all different backgrounds, getting their hair cut. They all have different beliefs. So have you seen anything like that happen at the barbershop?
They come in, and I usually don't really talk a whole lot of politics or COVID or any of that kind of stuff. I kind of let them steer that ship, and I let them just talk. I try to stay neutral in those situations because it can be very tricky as a barber. You don't want to piss these people off where they don't ever come back. But I will voice my opinions on certain things here and there, but I won't come full direct with it. It's like a real nice tightrope I have to walk in these conversations because I don't like to talk politics. I'm not a big political person. I have my beliefs and where I think should go, but it's more the customer. When they sit down, that's their time. And whatever they want to talk about, whatever they need to get off their chest. Nobody's gotten real crazy with their talk. They just kind of say what they feel.
You still want a tip from that person.
Yes. And I don't want to give them a reverse mohawk either, so we got to keep it civil. But no, I mean, it hasn't been anything crazy. The only time I really saw something crazy was at the beginning of or after the shutdown was over. We had one guy come in yelling at everybody in the shop about masks, and then the next guy came in right after him and said everybody wearing a mask was stupid. And it was, that was like the extent of it, but lately everybody's been super chill, and there's nothing that's been over the top. Nothing has gotten out of hand.
Okay. Dustin, so you talked about you hear it a lot from customers.
So,
I'm assuming since it's a grocery store
not
in
necessarily
Franklin
a
County,
lot.
Well, it's a grocery store in Franklin County, so
in the inner city,
everyone's required to wear masks.
Yes.
Is that the main issue that comes up?
Sometimes.
Or are there other issues that come up that
so
you have
I
to
haven't
deal with?
had the mask issue come up as much lately, although that's subject to change now with the most recent release from Governor DeWine. I guess in regards to your question, I had a customer who I can already tell is probably going to be a difficult customer, who's someone who shops probably all of the time. But she made a big fuss about there being some paper towels and some trash and stuff, paper receipts, whatever have you, on the floor in our lobby where our carts are. And, it's something that gets missed. Let's be honest. Tell me a grocery store you've been in that doesn't have that at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah.
And she made a big fuss about it, and I told her, I completely understand. I'll get someone on that right away, and I do apologize. And she led right into just because your presidential candidate didn't win, or didn't do this or that and the other, and doesn't mean you don't do your job. And I said, ma'am, that has nothing to do with it. So it's I think a lot of people kind of probably, at least I don't know yet, but it's the first encounter that I've had as far as this scenario goes, especially because I'm at a new location, that kind of thing kind of came up. So I don't know. I don't know if there's going to be other customers that are going to be like that, but this was the first and only interaction that I've had of that nature yet. So it's kind of one of those things where it's, I just let the customer know that, I take your information. I do apologize for it. And, unfortunately,
it still baffles my mind a little bit that, okay, there's a little bit of trash in the entryway. There's not a whole lot of associates that check the entryway all the time throughout the day.
No, they're supposed to, but that doesn't mean they're going to.
It's not like the produce section where you constantly have associates walking through the floor.
I have a bunch of teenage kids who are getting carts. Do you think they're going to check the lobby for trash and pick it up?
Do you think they want to pick up trash?
No,
they pick up
they
the
don't.
trash
They don't
in
even
their
want to get the
rooms.
carts.
Yeah.
They don't even want to get the carts. So.
But no, it's amazing that, okay, the issue was there's trash on the floor and that customer took it to politics. Like, I don't understand how you make that leap.
I think at that point she was looking for an avenue, and she took the first one that she got.
Okay. As much as I don't want to keep the talk on politics, I do want to bring up Ann Dimick and her question. Ann was on a couple weeks ago. One of the three ladies. Absolutely great episode. Go back and listen to that. Episode 142.
And if you don't know Ann, you're wrong. And two, look her up because she is one of the biggest and wealth of knowledge. And
Ray also brought up a good
whiskey
point. She
industry.
assumed that you were a Trump supporter. Like, she knew nothing about you.
Because of the beard, apparently. I don't know.
Or yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of reasons why she could have assumed, but whatever.
Right.
So Anne's question is: has anyone lost friends from this election season?
I can't say that I have.
Is that because all your friends agree with you?
No.
Hell no.
Shannon
no.
is adamantly shaking his head.
I think
no.
there's a lot of friends that I've just disregarded to say anything to.
Why?
I mean, I guess. Well, so I think a lot of my actual like close friends and the friends that I talk to on a regular basis, I think we have similar viewpoints and are on the same page. And then the friends that I do have that are, closer friends who have different points of view, there's that mutual understanding of, you have your beliefs, I have mine, and that's the way it is. Where I'm not going to hold that against you and you're not going to hold that against me. It's kind of one of those, and I want to say unspoken rules, but that's just part of that friendship where, we have different beliefs. That's fine. We can talk about it if we want and choose to, but at the end of the day, we're not going to hold that against the other person.
Man, if you choose your friends because of politics, you've already lost, man. There's more to life than politics. There's more to every day than politics. There's real life going on. I'm not going to let my life be controlled by some dude up in the White House or Senate or any of that crap, man.
Amen.
I have friends right here. I have friends out there that I love you to death, and your politics and your choice of whoever will never affect our friendship. That's asinine to me. I don't get it. I will never follow that path of thought.
Well, there are so many things, there's so many different ways to make friends around so many different things. I think politics is one of the worst things to build a friendship on.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Cigars and whiskey is a great place to start.
I think that's the cornerstone of building a friendship.
Yeah, and that's that's kind of a conversation that Steve and I had with someone earlier this week. Not in a negative way. They were asking about cigar shops and what's it like working in a cigar shop. These were people that smoke cigars. They hang out in cigar shops, but they've never really worked in cigar shops. And any cigar shop you go to, I don't care where it is, there's always going to be customers that think differently about whatever the topic is. It doesn't even have to be politics. Whatever the topic is, there's going to be people that think differently. And those people, though, they still come to that cigar shop. Why? Why do people still go there? Because it's not about the politics. It's about the cigars. Like, why do people hang out at bars? It's not because of the politics of whoever's running the bar. It's because they like whiskey,
drinks
or they
food.
like whatever their spirit of choice is. They like beers, whatever it is. They're finding something else to build a relationship on.
Let me ask you this: when we were deciding on the topic for tonight, we had a couple options, but this is the one that we ended up deciding on. I think it is very relevant to the world right now, not just in regards to politics, but when you came up with this topic, was it in regards more to the election or just in general? Can't we all just get along?
I think everything that you just activated my Siri. Thank you, Dustin.
You're welcome, Siri.
It mainly came up because of what's been going on. Because I don't get into many, very, very few political discussions or debates.
Me neither.
I kind of just see it. Like, I'm scrolling through Facebook and I see it happening. I'm like, nope, just keep scrolling. Hey, nice meme. Hey, that's funny. Hey, there's a cool video. You two are at it again. Nope, just keep going.
I'm the same way.
Yeah, and kind of like what my wife posted up here just a minute ago. Be more concerned about your own house, or be concerned about your own house more than what happens in the White House. Because
absolutely,
the reason I think that's important is your house. That's who you live with. That is your life. The people in your house. you see them and interact with them a hell of a lot more than you do who's in the White House.
I agree completely. And she's absolutely right. I think, at the end of the day, a lot of people, even if you are, single and, you live by yourself, at the end of the day, you've got to be concerned primarily for your own well-being and your own choices.
You still have to take care of you.
Yeah, you still have to take care of you. Now, I'm not saying your political choice isn't necessarily doing that, but at the end of the day, you make your choice. All right, cool. You did that. Now, how are you going to take care of the rest of you? What's that look like?
For most of us, our elected officials, whether it be at the local level, the state level, or the federal level, they're not the ones responsible for putting food on our table. Like it's up to me to go out to work and bring food home, or kind of like caveman style, leave the cave, kill something, and drag it home. Like that's my job. My job is to go out.
Where do you hunt at?
Shh. My job is to provide for me and mine.
Right.
That's my job.
Yep.
And if I can help people along the way, great. And if you're on this earth for 80 years, you're going to go through a lot of different elected officials at every single level.
Right.
None of them are the ones putting the food on your table. None of them, unless you specifically directly work for that person, they're not responsible for your paycheck.
Right.
You're still responsible for getting a job and taking care of you and yours.
Right. I think to Steve's point, and Ray called him out for trying to change the subject, but, Steve said, I got to be honest, fucking drivers are bigger assholes now than ever. Right. Facts.
Drivers?
Yeah.
Okay,
drivers.
Yeah. Oh, I saw 2 instances of road rage on my way here tonight.
Why do you think I stopped trucking?
So much.
Too much stress.
I think there's just so much negativity in the world, period, with just everything that's going on. And whether it be the election or COVID, I think it all plays into it. Let's be honest. They're all contributing factors to it all. Even if you're the person you voted for won, you're probably still going to be pissed off about something. You're still going to carry that somewhere, and it's still going to be there. So to your point, Nate, when you say, can't we all just get along? And it's funny when you sent me that message, I was outside working on my deck and I'm playing music outside, and literally no joke, the song by Kenny Chesney, Can't We All Just Get Along? It just finished playing shortly before that. And it was so ironic because, that was the first thing that came to my mind when you said that. It was, buy a boat, drink a beer, sing a song. Can we all just get along?
What's the shirt?
Pour one more, line up another. We'll figure this out together.
There you go.
It's the truth, though.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. We disagree on an issue. Cool. Let's have a glass of whiskey. Let's smoke a cigar. Let's talk about it. Yeah. Let's still find a way that we can still be friends about this. Like, we should not let something so minuscule.
And I think
that's the issue that a lot of people have, is they let the little shit break them apart.
Yeah. And, I'm guilty of that at times too. That's that whole taking things personally, like I talked about earlier. And, I think, to your point, Nate, is, if we cannot find a common ground where we can have a actual adult, mature conversation about it, where it's unbiased to a point and we're using both ears, then the conversation needs to not be had. It's one of those, if you, I know I would be this way, and I'm sure the both of you would be this way, that if you're having a conversation with someone who has, opposing views on whether it be political, social, personal levels, and they're not willing or wanting to see your point, or are dead set on proving you wrong and basically take it down the other route, then that conversation's done. It's one of those things, I'm going to cut my losses to a point. Now, if it's someone who you cherish as a good friend, and it's one of those, like I said, like you mentioned, your question earlier, Nate, then I would try to find a different route. Maybe there's something else underlying in that matter that something's causing that, and I don't believe that the political personal agenda is playing into that. There's some other outside factor that's causing that.
Yeah, I was gonna say I like what
I was going to bring up Ray's.
yeah.
I was going to bring it up because Ray.
I like what he said.
I had a brief outline for this, and Ray jumped ahead and beat me to the punch. Thanks, Ray. But no, seriously, Ray.
He is ahead of time, so
he is on Thursday.
He is in the future.
He is. He goes, "Come on,
how's the weather?
Let's be honest. We will never all get along. It's not about getting along. It's about accepting that there are significant differences in all societies, and that's what makes it work." And that's true. That's what I was eventually getting to with this. It's
agreeing is accepting.
You have your beliefs. There are other people that have theirs. When I say, can't we all just get along? It's not just you forget that person has different beliefs than you. You have to accept that they have different beliefs than you, and you may not change how they believe. And you have to be okay with not changing them to your side. You still have to respect them for having the nerve to have a point and be able to stand up and defend it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I think if we all got along, it'd be a boring ass place.
It would. There would be no conflict, and without conflict, we wouldn't push each other to come up with new ideas or new ways of thinking.
Yeah. No, you're right.
You have to have that give and take. The pendulum's the pendulum swings. The pendulum doesn't just hang out on one side. It always swings back to the other because it's a balance. There's people on both sides. It's not about all getting along. It's about being cogs in the wheel to make sure that the machine gets there and that the car gets to where it's going, because we're all in the car together.
Sometimes you got to get rid of the weakest link.
We're all in the plane together.
Can I get out of the trunk, please?
No, Shannon.
We're all in the plane. We may not all like the pilot, but those of us that don't like the pilot don't hope he crashes the plane.
As long as a pilot has a good speaking voice, I'm cool with it.
So you want Steve to be the pilot?
Yeah, it'd put me at ease. As we're going down at 600 miles an hour, yeah, it's cool.
Go fuck yourself.
Go fuck yourself.
There it is. I mean, that's Steve's motto almost. Go fuck yourself.
It is. It'll progress from focus to go fuck yourself.
Okay, yeah, focus is his main motto, but I mean,
he'll start having to go to the gym and have two hashtags. One will be focusing on be GFY.
But like, someone had called him out for something he had posted a week ago, where they had called him out, and he's like, you know what? Pretty sure I've told you I love you and go fuck yourself in the same conversation. You and I have had our disagreements. I've told you to go fuck yourself. See you tomorrow. Like, we have that. We have people that we don't get along with all the time. We don't see eye to eye with them. We still got to interact with them. Wait, what was that?
Shannon. I'm just kidding.
Oh, no. We like Shannon. Jessica McMurray says Steve should narrate the fight.
The flight.
I would take that.
Flight.
I feel like Steve narrating the flight would be almost the same level as Morgan Freeman narrating the flight.
Just put everyone to sleep.
Morgan Freeman would be putting everyone to sleep.
As long as he doesn't put the pilot to sleep.
Yeah, we'd all be fucked if that's the point. Unless it's on autopilot.
Well, okay. So, outside of politics, what do you guys see as some of the biggest driving issues that prevent people from getting along? Like, what do you see that drives a wedge into people outside the realm of politics?
The same flaw that I have, taking things personally.
Okay, expand on that.
I mean, so I guess it's kind of odd in a sense, you know. I'm speaking out of both sides of my mouth with it because, you know, I say I take things personally, but when it comes to outside factors, as far as different people's beliefs, I don't take that personally. Your belief is your belief. That's fine. It's there's nothing wrong with that. You're entitled to that. That's human nature. And I'm not going to hold that against you. I guess when it comes to some people, though, they do take that personally if you don't agree with them.
What would you do if someone came into this garage right now and we're like, yeah, Dustin works at Kroger. And he's like, fuck you, I like Walmart.
Cool. We can go to Walmart. I'm not going to stop you. You're not. I work for Kroger. Go to Walmart.
If Shannon came up to you and said, "Fuck you, I like Walmart,"
good for you. I'm glad you got a place you can get your shit. It doesn't affect me that when it comes to that. Now if someone came to me and said, "Fuck you, your daughter's an idiot," no, now we're gonna have a fucking problem.
That's hitting a little close to home.
Yeah, that's a different story. You and I were going to have worse. We're going outside and you're going to bite the curb and you're going to see what it tastes like.
So you have one issue that you're like, cool, you have a different opinion. Now you have another issue.
When it comes close to home, no. I don't play around with that shit.
So when you say close to home, you literally mean the house.
Literally mean the home. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm very protective when it comes to my friends and family. It's just the way that I am. I'm not going to have someone mistreat someone that I care about. I'm just not. Now, if your beliefs and you're holding that against them, that's your own problem. That's your own problem. So, but that, again, you're entitled to your opinion, and that's the way that I would approach that. You're entitled to your opinion. Now go fuck yourself.
The issue that I see right now, it's a kind of a divide, is the so-called issue of the haves and have-nots.
Okay, expand on that. What do you mean?
So there's always this big divide about like, oh, you have money, you don't. You have this, you don't. Like it's become taboo to get successful, and I don't get that. I think that's part of life, is digging your ass out of the hole and moving on and bettering your life, whatever it is.
I will say, so there are some people that, like, for example, for Ray's worked very hard throughout his life to be in a situation where he is.
And someone would tell him to go fuck himself because he's done well for himself.
But at the same time, there have been other people that have worked maybe just as hard as Ray, but don't have the success that Ray does.
And why is that Ray's problem?
It's not. And see, that's the thing. So, like, when it comes to when it comes to money, money's amoral. Money's not evil. It's not good. There's no emotion to it, right? Think of it like a brick. Okay, you can use a brick to do really good things. Like, you can build a hospital. You can build a shelter with a brick. You can also bash someone's head in with a brick, right? The brick doesn't care. It's just a brick. Same thing with success or money. All right. Success isn't a problem. It's how it's viewed. All right. There are some wealthy people that are some of the most generous people you will ever meet. There are some wealthy people that are some of the most greedy people you will ever meet. On the flip side,
that comes down to character.
Absolutely. It's not the money, it's not the brick, it's who's holding it and who's in charge of it. All right. So like I said, there are wealthy people that are very generous. There are wealthy people that are greedy snobs and you wouldn't touch with a 10-meter cattle prod. There are poor people that are very generous as well, that are some of the kindest people you may ever meet. There are also some poor people that are just absolutely rude that you would want nothing to do with whatsoever. It doesn't matter. What matters more is who they are and how they handle the situations, not what they have.
Put Ray's comment up there. Wealth is different.
Wealth is different things to different people.
And that is absolutely true.
Some people, wealth is a bank account. Some people, wealth is a friendship circle.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Sometimes it's, just being able to take care of yours. And
I just feel like there's this big driving divide in the world right now between this little topic we're talking about. And I can't wrap my head around it. We've all struggled through things and we're all in different places in our lives. And, I'm coming out of a season where I had to give up everything and I was back not in the gutter, but pretty damn close. And
take a look at that sentence that's
up?
on the screen there. What do you
money
think about
magnifies character.
If you
no,
here's what I think.
I guess I need a clarification of how that's put out there.
Here's what I think she's getting with where she's going with that. Money magnifies character. If you're greedy with $10,
okay,
you're going to be greedy with $10 million.
Yeah, I got.
If you're generous with $10, you're going to be generous with $10 million.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that.
If you're an asshole when you're broke, you're going to be an asshole when you're rich.
Right. No, I agree with that.
That's what I think she was getting at.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. But someone's always on the climb. Even if you're successful, you're still climbing. But it's what you do. Are you climbing that ladder and not looking back with your hand back, helping the next person up? Or are you kicking the person behind you in the face up that ladder?
Ooh, good analogy.
That's where it comes in to me. And that character, what she just said there, is perfect. I believe if you have a moral life and a moral character, you should be reaching back and pulling that next person up. 100%.
And when we're talking about getting along when it comes to money, all right, people that are out there that have it, like, again, depending on their character and their heart and generosity, they may help people that don't. I mean, have you guys ever been in a situation where you saw? I remember there was one time my wife was up by Polaris, and she saw a lady on the corner wearing a business suit. She had 2 or 3 kids with her, and she had recently lost her job and her home, and still had kids to feed. Now, we don't know the legitimacy of. Whenever you see people on the street, you don't know the legitimacy.
There's always going to be questions.
You don't know unless you actually know that person. You don't know. But it was one of those cases where my wife just had a feeling. Your ladies ever get a feeling? she had a feeling that this was a legitimate issue. Like, this was someone who seriously was trying, but seriously needed help. And she called me up, and I went to the grocery store, bought like $70 worth of food, and ran up to Polaris to go give to that person. Because that food would have meant more than anything else I probably could have given that person, unless I was in a position to offer them a job.
Right.
But if we were broke, living on the streets, and had no money to feed ourselves, I'm not going to be able to help that person.
Prime example, I got 2 quick stories. So when I was still trucking, I was on the south end of Columbus. It's pretty down area. And I pulled over to eat my lunch. I had brought my lunch with me. And this old man comes walking up, and he's like, "Do you have any money?" Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, "No, man, but here's my lunch, bro. Take my lunch." So I gave him my lunch. I sat there and watched him walk across High Street to the other road, look at the Tupperware food I just gave him, and throw it in the bushes. He was pissed that I gave him food, not money.
I've seen that happen before.
And I sat there and I was like, that kind of burnt me a little bit, but I was like, I did my part, whether he accepted it or not.
But what's to say about your character?
I'm a nice guy.
Okay. That guy didn't.
I don't want to see anybody suffer.
Yeah. Now, but how much did you, when you saw that guy throw away the food that you had just given him, did you sit there and be like, you know what, I'm never going to give someone food again?
No, I mean, it pissed me off. I'm like, Jesus Christ. But, it is what it is. He had a choice at that moment to eat that food, get some nourishment, or chuck it and go on with whatever the hell he's going to do. Right? My choice was made. His choice was made.
The two of you were on different sides of what the issue was.
Yeah.
But you didn't allow that person to prevent you from being a generous person going forward. Literally, even though it was a negative experience, you felt burned by it. You didn't let it negatively impact you for the next time that situation happened.
No, and the other story was probably a few months later. It was wintertime. It was probably in the 20s. It's cold as shit outside. I'm at the gas station pump of gas, and this woman pulls up next to me. And she's like, "Excuse me, sir, I don't have any money to get back home." You know, that whole story. And just like, I'm looking at her. I'm
thinking of the movie Date Night.
And I look over around the pump and I see this like little kid sitting in this car. Now, am I getting played? Am I getting used to get gas? More than likely. But I'm not going to let this car run out of gas with this kid in the freezing cold. You know what I mean? Like, so I had to make a decision. Like, so I filled her gas tank up. I filled it 100% up.
Okay, you didn't just give him a few bucks for a couple gallons.
No, I filled it completely up. I even told her, I was like, I don't know if you're running a game on me. I don't care at this point. This kid's more important. Wow. Filled it up. Have a nice day.
And that magnifies your character.
I'm not saying this to be like glory or whatever.
No.
Just,
but on the flip side of that, like the way that you approached that, you made it more of a big deal for the kid. You didn't make it a big deal for her. You made it a deal for the kid.
You also didn't make it a big deal about him.
Exactly. So the point of the matter, though, is now whether or not that she did or not, I don't know. No one will know, but maybe, just maybe, and hopefully that when they drove away, if she was playing a scam, that driving away, she's thinking, shit, like he did this for the kid. What the fuck am I doing?
Maybe it has a positive impact on her.
Exactly.
Maybe. And sometimes when you do something like that, you don't see the ripple effect across the lake.
Well, that's where, like, just the other day, like, I stopped at a...
Damn it, Ray. Yeah, Ray, if you can get to a gas station near Shannon, good luck to you. You're all the way out in Vietnam.
I had the other day where I stopped at a gas station to get something to drink, and, I ran in, grabbed something to drink and, something to snack on, and I went up there, and there was a bag of some, it was like a couple of rock stars and a bag of chips or something like that, and when I went in, there was a lady who left. And so I walked up. I said, "Was this the lady that just left?" And they were like, "Yeah." I said, "What, does she not have enough money or something?" And they're like, I guess not. And I said, "Just ring it all up. Just ring it all up." So I paid for it. Now, whether or not that person came back for it or not, I don't know. I drove around like the lot for a second before I left to see if that person was still there. Right now, I didn't see her, so she could have left. But if she came back, she got a free couple energy drinks and a bag of chips. But if she didn't, someone else got a free drink and snack out of it. But I felt obligated. It's not much.
I had one when I was living in Grove City. I was within walking distance. Like literally, the grocery store was across the street from my apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in line buying groceries, and there was a person in front of me that, like, as the stuff is being rung up, like, you can see their eyes getting bigger when they're looking at the total. And they're sitting there, like, the whole time they're looking at how much cash they have.
Mm-hmm.
And this person did not look like, they were doing very well. And the last item to get rung up, and everything they were buying was food. They weren't buying a bunch of bullshit.
Oranges?
Get out of my head. So
no, your wife said it.
They wanted to buy a bag of clementines.
God damn it! I bought them for Jake.
They wanted to buy a bag of clementines.
Oh, where's Jake?
But that bag of clementines put them over by like $3 or $4.
Yeah,
more than what they had. And that person's looking at what they have, and they're like, what, they didn't want to sit there and because the person's already bagged up the rest of their groceries. So they didn't want to sit there and have that person like go pick something out to take it off and take the clementines. So they're like, I guess just take the clementines off. They're like, all right. So the lady just puts it behind the counter. And I'm like, how much are the clementines? They're like, well, she's like $3 short. God damn it. She's like $3 short. And I'm like, all right, here's $4. Now I'm going to get my groceries, but I'm like, yeah, here's the $4.
So let me ask this question since we're on this little topic here. So When you give like this, are you doing this for a thump on the chest, or is this like a, I don't want to say a thoughtless thought, but
No,
just
because
like just in general for us here,
For me,
for
it's
anybody out
it's
there
more
listening?
of a for me. It's more of a moral thing. It's not something that
that person
I
looked
don't
like they
do it.
needed some oranges.
Yeah, I don't do it all the time. Like, but if I'm able to do it, just because like I have a tight budget, but if I'm able to spare a few bucks to help someone out, and the opportunity presents itself, then I will. And if that person seems like they're in need or something, then I will. Like for instance, the gas station scenario that I spoke of. Did they really need the rock star and chips? Probably not. But was I going to do it just to maybe make that person's day a little bit better, and maybe they'll do the same thing and pay it forward later? Yeah,
That was the thing. Like I said, this person looked like they could use some oranges or some clementines. All right, and
Did you
no
think they were
one
about to have the scurvy or something?
like I said, they did not look like they were doing very well. No one that was around me that was in line is anyone that I know. So there was no one who was going to be looking at this and giving me a pat on the back. Like I didn't care about that. I was in a position to where, I could sit there and throw a few bucks to help this person out by getting some food.
Yeah.
And that's all it was. And if that brightened that person's day, and I know it did because the person turned around and looked at me and they couldn't believe that someone just randomly threw them a few bucks in order to be able to buy the rest of their groceries.
Right.
Has
Like-
anybody like Austin here said, have you ever paid for somebody behind you at the drive-thru?
So I didn't do the drive-through, but I stopped at the McDonald's when I worked at the when I was working at my last store in Whitehall.
Pay for their food and then take their food? Like is
No, Nathan. No, Nate. That's not the same. No.
Oh, yeah.
But no, I stopped in it was in the morning. I stopped in for, a couple breakfast sandwiches, and I got mine, and there was about three older gentlemen in line behind me. They were in for, they're just getting a cup of coffee. It was kind of their morning ritual. They go in and get a cup of coffee and hang out. This is, the McDonald's literally cat corner from my store. So, and anyone who knows the area, they know the area that I'm talking about. And I turned around, and after that, she told me the total, and I turned around and said, "What are you getting?" He goes, "I'm just getting a cup of coffee and a sandwich." I said, "What are you getting?" He goes, "Cup of coffee." "You?" "Cup of coffee." I'm like, "All right." Put their stuff on there too. And they all kind of looked at me, and they're like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Well,
Go ahead.
because kind of like what someone brought up. So my wife was one of those people that when she was a kid, her parents were the ones in the grocery stores counting the money, looking at how much they could afford. Now she's in a position to where if someone needs a couple extra bucks in order to be able to get some food, she's in a position to throw them a few bucks.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. Like you may be in that position one day.
I'm right there with her. We didn't have a whole lot growing up either.
And here's the thing
at all.
When we talk about these stories, you buying a person's gas, you buying some people their coffee, me buying some person a bag of oranges or clementines. Did any of us sit there and ask that person like what their political affiliation was or what their opinions were on whatever social issue?
That was my first question.
You're full of shit.
That was his interrogation tactic right there.
But none of us asked that question. Why?
Because it doesn't matter.
Exactly. It doesn't
That's
matter.
the point.
We're all people. We're
Exactly.
all in this together.
Can't we
Again,
all just
kind
get along?
of like what Steve brought up with, when all the pandemic shit started, everyone was talking about, oh, we all need to take care of each other, but I'm going to go to the grocery store and buy up all the toilet paper so no one else can. Like, no, you're not looking out for anyone but yourself. Like, no, you're a phony. You're fake. Get out of here with that.
Right. I'm over here. I have the, I have my struggles with work at times, but at the same time, with everything that's going on, I do have the luxury of having a job in a place that is going to be open. Unless something happens that, the governor decides to shut literally everything down. But when the initial shutdown happened, you know, and I'm still going to work, and you know, all my friends and stuff who were at home, you know, maybe they didn't have anything. The first thing that I did was I reached out to all of my family. Hey, do you have what you need? Is there anything, you know, do you need any toilet paper? Do you need any paper towels? Do you need any wipes or sanitizer? Do you need, like, what do you need? Do you need anything? And, you know, I did the same thing for all my close friends. Like, hey, do you need anything? You need some toilet paper? You need some paper towels? Like, I know you can't find it anywhere, but I got to load in, and, you know, I'll snag you one if you need one or something. You know, you let me know. And
Put me on that list.
well, if you know, if something happens that, you know, shit hits the fan again or something, and I've got it, and someone needs it, you know, anyone as far as my close friends goes, you know, I'm going to help any way that I can, because, you know, at the end of the day, like I tell the people that I work with, you know, we're all under the same roof, taking care of the same people. We're a team. We're a family. You know, it goes for the same with, you know, all of my friends and family, and, you know, the people watching and listening. You know, we're all on this earth together at the same time. You know, the more that we focus on the negativity, the more that we're going to hold grudges against one another, the more that we're going to hold that negativity against one another, the more that we're not going to want to help one another. No matter what your political, religious, personal beliefs may be, at the end of the day, we are here together. So what are we going to do to work together to keep this thing rolling?
All right. So let's go ahead and roll into closing remarks.
Well, it sounds like I already did mine.
Wasn't
But I mean, I'll retrip.
Go
Yeah,
ahead. We'll just go straight down the line.
Well, we'll let Shannon go first. You know, jumping in.
So we'll do Shannon. Then
What? I guess I'm trying to figure out what we going to close this on.
So we're talking about, can't we all get along?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a lot of things that divide us.
Mm-hmm.
How do we work together and not let the petty shit ruin us?
Man, in my mind, it's simple. It's just it's being human, just having a heart for people. We all have differences. We all think different. I think that's the beauty of being alive and being in this world, that the differences make us. We'll never all agree on the same things, and that's okay.
And if not, go fuck yourself.
Yeah. And just
Steve Crane 2024.
Amen.
I just believe that, like, the way I live my life, I lead every interaction with somebody I meet with my heart, and it's a beautiful thing in my eyes that if you can see somebody as a person and not as a idea that they claim or represent, you're going to be okay. Life is pretty fucking simple. It really is really simple if you get all the bullshit out of the way and just be human with each other. Love on each other, and sometimes you can't. That's okay. Shake their hand, walk away. That's my 2 cents.
Dustin?
I mean, I did kind of already mention, you know, like I said, you know, at the end of the day, we're all on this earth together. Letting the small peddly shit get in our way only causes more heartache and more strain, more negativity in the world. You know, I think the three of us here at the table, and, you know, Steve included, and the viewers watching and listening either tonight or down the road, can all have the same mindset. And if you don't, go fuck yourself. No, but really, it's all about coming together. You know, our motto, pour one more, light up another. We'll figure this shit out together. We didn't come up with that just on a whim. It's the true motto of the podcast. It's the true motto of each one of us here at the table. And, you know, I really believe it's the true motto of everyone who's watching, listening, and a part of the community page. And those of you who are Patreons and help supporting the show. I feel like you wouldn't be supporting if you didn't believe the same things. And with that, we have an ample opportunity to take that and spread it. And I think, we do a great job of that already. But I think it's on, the viewers and listeners to keep that ball rolling. We're a voice here with microphones, but at the end of the day, those who are avid supporters, you have a voice as well. And I think we need to use that to our best advantage. And I don't think there's enough people in the world who do that. And it's up to us to keep that ball rolling. Can't we all just get along? It's a simple statement. It's a simple question. And I think it's something we need to just ask one another at any point, especially when there is, a disagreement in opinions. Hey, can we all just get along? Yeah. We have a difference of opinions. I believe one thing, you believe another, and that's perfectly fine. I take your points, I respect that. And I think that mutual respect is something that has been lost. And then it's something that we need to regain. And, they say there has to be mutual respect. You have to give respect to earn respect. I think that kind of holds true. And I think a lot of people are too selfish to recognize that. And that's something I think I am continuing to push and work on. And I think, I challenge everyone else who's viewing and listening to do the same thing.
All right. Thank you guys. Before I go into my closing remarks, thank you guys for being here tonight.
Well,
and
I just want to say thank you for letting me slide in for this second half.
Yeah, we appreciate you showing up. So that way it wasn't just Dustin and I talking up here, because
it'd probably get dull after a while.
Yeah. Shane, you
tired of myself talking.
You needed an extra bald head in here to replace the other one. So
no, we needed a third beard is what we needed.
Here it is.
But no, it was a decision we had to make leading up to the podcast, whether or not we were going to still do it, with Steve feeling a little under the weather and having that cough that he does. He doesn't have a fever or anything like that. He's just got a cough and didn't think he'd be able to make it through the podcast.
I want to play it safe than sorry.
Yes, exactly. So thank you guys for still showing up tonight. Shannon, thank you for joining in there for this.
Anytime you throw up the bat signal, I'll be here.
I think we got to come up with a different signal for you, though.
I'll put up the
Can't
Robin.
Be a bat signal. We might get the wrong person showing up.
It'll be a Robin signal for him.
Okay.
The John Deere emblem. Put the big deer in the sky.
So I came up with Can't We All Get Along? And part of it was because of everything that's been going on lately. There's been a lot of division. It always seems like when there's national issues that are coming up, it seems to get amplified. And I think it drives a wedge between us, because if it wasn't for things like that have been going on, like if everyone just talked to their neighbor and they talk to their neighbor and they talk to their neighbor, like we'd figure out that, actually we're okay. Like we are getting along. Yeah, we have some differences. Getting along does not mean seeing eye to eye. Doesn't mean agreeing on everything.
Mm-hmm.
It just means you don't let the shit cause a fight between you. You're not sitting there driving people away because of your different views or your different opinions. I think of it almost like when you're in grade school, and you're in gym class and you're playing dodgeball. Yeah. All right.
I'm the last guy picked always.
I was always one of the first. But you have two teams that are going out there and they're just trying to throw the ball as hard as they can at the other person, right? I mean, they are trying to do damage. Well, what happens after the bell rings and class is over?
You get that last person who gets the cheap shot in.
No, no, damn it. No, Dustin.
Right to the dome.
No, you missed the point. That went over like an iron airship. All right. No, you have to go to class. Like you have your next period class together. Like, so the person that was on the other side of the aisle from you, the person that you were trying to throw a red rubber ball at as hard as you possibly could, Like it may be a friend of yours. It may be someone that you wish was on your team or someone that you wish picked you, but you ended up on the other team. Guess what? You're still part of the same school. You might even be teammates on a school sport. You don't sit there and you let the fifth period dodgeball game break you apart.
That shit gets intense, though.
It does.
I'm not gonna lie, in that game,
but
if my friend's on the other side, you can bet your ass I'm gonna put a ball.
If all you're looking at is negative, all you're going to see is negative. And if all we're doing is fighting with each other, then nothing is going to get better. It's only going to create worse things.
Yep.
It's when we work together with a positive attitude that we actually accomplish something for the greater good, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Because if all we're seeing is negative, all we're trying to do is hurt the other person. Well, if we hurt that person, what good is it doing to everyone else that's on the playing field?
Right.
All right. So, shout out to our sponsors. Thank you, Tinder Box at Easton, providing our primary cigar, the Black Market, Alec Bradley Black Market Esteli Diamond. Thank you, Altadis USA, for providing the Monte Cristo Espada Oscuro. Love that smoke. I think it also went very well with this whiskey.
It did.
Thank you to Brandon from Still Austin for joining us tonight.
Oh, by the way, this whiskey is very it's damn good.
Right.
That's a good whiskey. Yeah, you weren't part of the review, but man, that's
about a week or so. You can order it online.
Yes,
and be shipped to Ohio.
If you're in the Ohio area or anywhere outside of Texas, actually, next week their portal's supposed to go online, and you're going to be able to order that and have it shipped to you. And Ohio is one of those states that you will be able to have it shipped to you. So, again, if you didn't catch it in part one, go back and listen, or let's download the audio 144 part one for our review on that. It was a great whiskey. We all enjoyed it.
We saved you some, buddy.
Yeah, we saved you a drop. Thank you, Cigar Company, for our unofficial third cigar of the night.
Austin asked if we have a link for the order.
We don't just yet, but I recommend checking out their website and just kind of keep tabs on that for the next week or so.
Still Austin Distillery.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And thank you, Patreon. You know what? I probably should have did the mouse. I probably should have thrown up the sponsors as I was. You can tell this is my first time.
I remember my first whiskey. It was a Woodford Double Oaked.
Thank you, Patreon. Patreon.com/bourbonmbs podcast. Tiers start out $5, $10, $25. You can donate whatever you want. You can do a one-time donation. $25 donation gets you a t-shirt. 3 months at the $10 tier gets you a t-shirt. 6 months at the $5 tier get you a t-shirt. We keep track of that. So we're
still working on swags and stuff like that.
Yeah, we're looking at doing some other things. We're in talks with Altadis about doing like some lighters and cutters for some of our patrons.
Nice.
So more stuff like that to come.
Keep in touch.
So thank you everyone that's a patron for at the very least making this break even.
You're welcome.
We're not. Yes, Shannon, you're one of our patrons. Being able to do this, we don't have any out of pocket expenses. Except for some of the whiskey. We've been fortunate to have some bottles donated to the podcast. Some
greatly appreciated.
Some guests that have brought bottles, so we really appreciate all of you, all your support. Like, share. Thank you for everything. And cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers.
Episode 144 in the
and
books.
Happy Veterans Day to all the veterans out there.
Yes, happy Veterans Day
for
to
your service.
all that have served. Thank you very much.
Cheers, everyone.
Enjoy.